Selamat siang semuanya.
Woohoo!
Selamat datang kembali di
Fiancer Day! No, it's Sunday! We forgot. I forgot.
akhirnya nggak save ya? Oh nggak save 1 Agustus.
We back to the Rokkenjima Island setelah yapping bersama Higurashi Characters. Nah. Forcefully opening the door with a clunk, Rosa flew in with Maria. Ping me down when Maria dead, kata Mira. It just started biar kamu.
Real kah? Maria mati lagi kan dia sebenarnya.
Gak tahu, dia bilang kan ping me when Maria dead.
誰でもいいのバスタオルを持ってきて
There was already a full-blown typhoon outside, and it was starting to pour down hard. Even though she had an umbrella, Maria had been in the rose garden amid all that wind and rain the whole time. She had grown ice cold. Maria had gotten into a minor fight with Rosa in this rose garden, and had been told to stay there. She had done as she was told, and had continued to wait in that spot, even though rain was pouring down. Rosa certainly had gotten a little emotional and angry, but Maria's stubborn whim was probably more to blame. The cousins who had seen that exchange were relieved to see that mother and child were close to each other again. Rosa scrubbed Maria's head with a towel. She seemed overcome with worry that Maria had caught a cold, but Maria herself was nonchalant.
大丈夫寒気とかしないやっぱり一度戻って着替えさせた方がいいかしら
全然平気それよりお腹空いたから着替えよりご飯がいい
大丈夫そうだぜローザおばこんだけ元気ならきっと大丈夫だよ
傘があって本当に良かったよひょっとしたらずぶ濡れかもしれないと思ってたからね傘を持ってたのは不幸中の幸いだったよ
でもよマリアいくら傘があってもこんな大雨になったらちゃんと雨宿りしなきゃダメだぜ女の子は体を冷やしちゃ絶対にいけないいいのよジェシカちゃんママがそこにずっといなさいと言ったのが悪いの本当にごめんね本当にごめんね
マリアいい子。ママの言う通りにしてたからいい子。寒くてもずっといた。ママが来るまでずっといた。
マリアは本当にいい子よ。ママの言いつけをちゃんと守ったわね。本当に偉いわ。でも、次からはママの言いつけであっても、あんな大雨になったらちゃんと雨宿りをするのよ。いいわね。ママと約束よ。
ママと約束。
As Rosa gently held Maria, they joined their pinkies together and promised. Batra and the other realized that by touching her mother's pinky, the warmth had started to return to Maria's body.
カノン君、タオルをありがとう。助かったわ。
それでは失礼いたします。
As Canon bowed with a blank expression, as though he had done nothing that required gratitude, he left the parlor.
さあ、もうお夕飯よ。みんなも行きましょう。偉いマリアには、後でママの分のデザートも分けてあげるわ。
本当ママ。デザートもらえる。ママ大好き。
こらマリア、はしゃがないの。ママもマリアが大好きよ。マリア大好き。マリア大好き。
マリアもママ大好き。
Walang ikut dia.
This is the apa itu Hienko ini tidak asli ya. This is not real.
This is not real. Rosa and Maria looked really close. Even the cousins who watched started to feel a long-forgotten warmth fill up in their chest.
このくらいの年頃が親と一番仲がいいのかもしれねえな。
うちはそうでもなかったぜ。母さんとかいっつも勉強勉強とうるさかったな。
子供を愛していればこそだよ。親の愛は優しさや甘やかしだけじゃないんだよ。僕の母さんも厳しかったけど、僕を大事に思ってくれたからこそだって今ならわかるよ。
I know you're evil, George.
ママ大好き。ママ大好き。
マリア大好き。マリア大好き。さあ食事に行きましょう。お手手つないで仲良くね。
お手手つないで仲良く。ママとマリア仲良し仲良し。
そうよ。ママとマリアは仲良しよ。いつまでもずーっとね。愛してるわ、マリア。
Oh. It is not real, I think.
なんだよ突然。どうした？
The sudden sound had come from the teacup Gretel had been holding, which had fallen and smashed.
ごめんなさい。ぼんやりしてたわ。落としちゃってごめんなさい。
The cup on the floor had smashed to pieces. Would it really have made such a sound and smashed to pieces just by being dropped from that height? Even someone as thick-headed as Batra could realize that she was in a bad mood over something. But he couldn't understand why. She had suddenly grown so displeased. When she made to bend over and pick up the fragments of the cup, Runaway appeared out of nowhere and stopped her.
お怪我をなさいますよ。お片付けは私どもにお任せを。紅茶のおかわりをお持ちしましょうか？
いらないわ。どうも悪魔の紅茶は口に合わないみたい。
Wow.
ほう、ロノウェの紅茶でも口に合わぬものがおったとは。そなたの肥えた舌には敬意を表するぞ。
退屈してきたんで、ちょっと席を外すわ。
退屈？おいおい、いよいよこれからだろうが。多分、この時点でマリアはまた、傘と手紙をベアトリーチェから受け取ってるって言い出すんだぜ。 ここからが重要だってのに。
失礼するわ。ごめんなさいね。後片付けをお願い。
お任せを。
Without saying anything else, Gretel disappeared of her own accord. Her form literally... Fuck. Her form literally melted and disappeared into thin air. There was definitely a displeased expression on her face. But neither Batra or Runaway, and of course not Beato either, could understand why her mood had so suddenly worsened. All that remained was the scent of the black tea she spilled. I don't like it. No, to be more blunt, it disgusts me.
なんでエンジェはイラついてるの？
なんでって、決まってるでしょ？
マリアにはわからないよ。
Even Maria One-chan, with that blank expression on her face, irritated me. As I held my hand, palms up in the empty air, from out of nowhere a single book landed on them. It was Maria One-chan's diary. Even though I didn't turn the pages were flipped through, despite there being no wind. And the door to Maria One-chan's world opened.
どうしてエンジェはマリアが幸せじゃないと思うの？
客観的に判断してよ。
客観的にエンジェの主観で、だね。
真実は、私にとってのものと、マリアお姉ちゃんにとってのものとでは、異なると言いたいの？
真実は、観測者によって形を変えるよ。そして、未来の観測者が常にその形状を上書きする。エンジェは、マリアの幸せをどうしたいの
？The pages of the diary were flipped through at greater and greater speed. Then, a brilliant light poured out from the depths of the diary, swallowing everything up and painting over everything with white.
"ごめんね、マリア。ママね、緊急に片付けなきゃならない仕事が山積みで、ちょっと会社に缶詰にならなきゃならないの。多分、あさっての深夜まで家に帰れないわ。
おお、じゃあ、日曜日の一緒に映画を見に行く約束は？
映画？
Judging by Rosa's tone, she had clearly forgotten that promise. But Maria's response to that was an apology for asking. I'm sorry. Maria apologized for troubling her mother by asking that question.
マリア、お留守番してる。ちゃんとお行儀よく待ってる。毎日お風呂に入って、新しい肌着にするよ。お金の場所もわかってる。毎日違うお店に行くようにする。あんまり遅い時間に出かけないようにする。おまわりさんに聞かれたら、ママのお使いですって言うようにする。ちゃんとママに言われた通りに言うようにする。
そうね。ちゃんといい子にしてるのよ。そしたらお土産を買ってきてあげるわ。いい？夜は9時までに寝るのよ。ママが帰ってこないなんて先生にも大人にも言っちゃダメよ。いいわね。
うん。だからママ、お仕事頑張ってお仕事を終わらせて、少しでも早く帰ってきてね。マリア、もう夜中に泣いて近所の人に迷惑なんかかけたりしないから。だから、早く帰ってきてね。
This could be easily solved by hiring a personal mates or something, you know.
Would you think the personal maid would be able to handle Maria?
If she's getting paid, properly.
Properly. With a tone of finality in her voice, Rosa hung up the phone without waiting for Maria's answer. Maria politely set down the receiver and returned to the sofa. There sat the stuffed animal Sakutaro, with whom she had been watching TV until a second ago. Sakutaro was holding the remote control to the TV. The TV had been turned off because of the phone call. It looked like he was telling her to push the switch because he wanted to watch TV again quickly.
サク太郎、テレビ見たい？おりゅ？マリアはもう見たくないの？芸人チーム全問正解したら逆転かもしれない。うりゅう。もうテレビいいや。
Again, Mama was busy with her work and didn't come home. Mama works so much overtime that she doesn't come home until late. Because she has dates or something, she always comes home after drinking a lot of alcohol, even though she's not good at drinking. And with a pale face, she'll go straight into the shower and then to bed. And because she has overtime even on the weekends or something, she says she has to spend the night there and almost never comes home. Recently, she started saying something about how she's got a big job she's working on. So this sort of thing happens a lot. The pictures I did my best on during drawing time were laughed at by everyone. But even so, I wanted to show them just to Mama. And once again, she won't be able to look at them for me. And I could talk about the time everyone pushed the job of cleaning up onto me. But I did my best by myself and was praised by the teacher. All the time I went shopping, and the man at the shop said I'm always such a good kid and gave me a free canned coffee. Then there was a time I wanted to encourage Mama because she worked so hard on her job, and hid a card for her under her pillow.
他にもいっぱいお話ししたかった。ママはお仕事をいっぱい頑張ってくれてるんだよ。毎日のご飯のために一生懸命働いてくれてるんだよ。お仕事やだ。ママ、
やだ。
お仕事なんかやめちゃえ。お仕事は大人の大切な仕事なんだよ。マリアにご飯を食べさせて、お洋服を買って、学校の給食費を払って、サマーキャンプの積立金を払って、それはみんなママが働いてお金を稼いでくれるからなんだよ。ご飯いらない。お洋服もいらない。給食もいらないし、サマーキャンプなんか行きたくない。どうせマリアをどこの班も混ぜてくれないもん。ウリュウ、ママはさっき電話でお仕事から帰ってきたらお土産を買ってきてくれるって約束してくれたよ。ママはマリアのことが大事で寂しくさせてることを申し訳ないと思ってるから、そういう約束をしてくれたんだと思うよ。そうかな。ウリュウ、めんどくさかったり嫌だったりしたらそんなことはしないもん。ママだってマリアのそばにいつだっていたいんだよ。それができなくてママも辛くて悲しい。ママが泣きながらずっとマリアの隣にいて夜を過ごしてくれた日を僕は覚えてるよ。なんでママが泣いてるのかわからなかったけど、 ただマリアは黙ってママのそばにいることしかできなかった。あの時最後にママが言ったの僕は覚えてるよ。マリアにありがとうって言った。ただそばにいてくれるだけでマリアだけが世界でただ一人の味方なんだよってママは言ってくれた。
Uryu is your enjoyable in the episode, ay.
ウリュ
ウリュ、覚えてる？うん。
ウリュ
This is the origin of Uryu Ishida from Black Sun.
マリアが
Them.
世界でただ一人の味方なんだよってママ言った。
Mikata. Sakutaro set the remote control on the table, crawled up into the sofa, sat on my lap, and spoke to me, gazing into my eyes.
ママもきっとマリアと同じなんだよ。ママの描いたデザインだけがクライアントに笑われて、ママの会社だけが他の会社から面倒な仕事を押し付けられて、ママは社長だから自分一人で片付けなくちゃならなくて、ママの会社だけがいつも他の会社の仕事に混ぜてもらえない。ママの味方はマリアだけなんだよ。そのマリアがママにお仕事なんかやめちゃえなんて言ったら、ママの味方は、サク太郎。僕には世界中でただ一人マリアがいる。ママには世界中でただ一人マリアがいる。マリアにはママもいるし、サク太郎もいる。だからマリアは寂しくなんかない。ウリュウ。ママはお仕事が忙しいからなかなかマリアと一緒にいられないけど、マリアはどうかそれを責めないで。その代わり僕はいつも一緒に、そしていつまでも一緒にマリアのそばにいるから。ウリュウ、僕が一緒じゃ悲しみを止められない？
Ya, nangis ya.
This is the Maria blazing episode.
From the corner of Maria's heart, which she had been doing her best to seal up, drops of sadness finally dripped down. Even though weekends when Mama didn't come home weren't that rare of a thing, it wasn't as though that night was particularly painful or sad compared to other nights. And yet, Maria's tears poured down.
ウリュウ、マリア泣かないで。僕がずっと一緒にいるから。マリアが泣いても僕は泣かない。僕はライオンの子だから寂しくても泣かないよ。僕だって泣きたいけど僕は泣かない。どうしてザク太郎は泣かないの？こんなに寂しくて涙がこらえられなくても泣かないの？ウリュウ、だって僕が泣いたら誰がマリアを慰めるの？だから僕は泣かないよ。だってマリアに元気を出してもらいたいから。元気を出したらママは帰ってくるの？ママが帰ってきた時、元気なマリアで迎えてあげたらママはきっと喜ぶと思うな。ウリュウ、ママは
What do you?
喜ぶ？ウリュウ、そしたらきっとお仕事の疲れもきっと癒されると思うよ。そしたらきっといつもより早く元気になってくれてマリアともいっぱい遊んでくれると思うな。マリアがママの待ってるお家へ帰ってきた時、ママが上機嫌で台所にいたらすごく幸せな気持ちになるでしょ？ママもきっと同じだよ。マリアがご機嫌でお留守番してたらママも幸せになるかな。ウリュウ、
Sakutaro nodded deeply with his big head. The tears couldn't keep falling from Maria's eye. If she greeted Mama with a tear-stained face, Mama probably gets sad too.
マリアは知ってるよ。笑顔を呼ぶ魔法は自分も笑わなきゃできないってこと。
Ay, pakiareba. Something.
マリアは知ってるよ。だからもう泣かない。ねえマリア、僕から楽しく過ごす提案があるよ。ウリュウ、聞いてくれる？
Let's summon a demon.
ママが日曜日の深夜まで帰ってこないから、だからママに内緒のパジャマパーティーをして遊ぼうよ。
Pajama party?
パジャマパーティー？今夜は眠くなるまでベッドの中でお菓子を食べたりジュースを飲んだりしながら僕と遊ぶの。パジャマパーティー？
I would like to have a pajama party tonight.
9時に寝なくていいの？
Hey, drinking soda in bed, dog. Holy shit, that is so bad. I want to do
Drinking
it.
soda.
ママがいない時だけの僕とマリア
Chat, are
の
you
秘密。
listening?
だから今
You
夜
hear
は
what this
マ
man
リア
just
が
said?
眠くなるまでずっと僕たちで楽しく過ごそう。ジェリービ
Is
ーン
this
ズを
something we
食
will
べ
talk
な
about
が
in the
ら
podcast?
次は何の色を引くか当てっこして遊ぼう。ピーナッツを割ってどっちがおじいさんか当てて遊ぼう。
It has been 0 days.
クローゼットの
Since
中
the
を
podcast
宝
was
探ししよう。
Let's do the podcast tomorrow. Let's do instead of watching Harry Potter, let's do the podcast tomorrow.
他にも
This man will do anything but watch Harry Potter with all
オ
of
レンジジュー
his
スとメロン
friends.
ジュースを合わせたらどんな味になるかな。おお、いっぺんやってみたかったけど、
いいねちょ
ママにやっていいって聞いたらダメって怒られた。ウリュウ、ママに内緒で
Can't
実験
believe
してみよ
Mira
う。
doesn't like Maria, man.
今夜はいっぱい遊んでいっぱい笑って涙を元気で吹き飛ばしちゃおう。大丈夫、僕と一緒だから絶対に楽しいよ。僕が絶対にマリアを幸せにしてあげるから。うんうん、サクタロと一緒なら絶対に楽しいよ。絶対に幸せになれるよ。ありがとうサクタロ。もう泣かないね。とびきり楽しく2人で過ごして思いっきり元気になってママをおかえりなさいって迎えちゃおう。うりゅう、今夜はいっぱい遊んでいっぱいご機嫌になっちゃおう。ママがいない夜にしか遊べない秘密のパーティーでいっぱい遊ぼう。僕たちが賑やかにしてたらきっと鏡の国や不思議の国からたくさん
Masih sure
の
bagian
友
ini
達と遊びに
skimming
来るよ。
tercepat gue selama main Umineko, kata Mira.
そしたらもう僕たちはお友達で
This is
いっぱい
important, Mira.
で
How
退
can
屈
you
なんか
do
で
that?
きなくなっちゃう。うりゅう。
I get the gist of it. I think you can skip the rest.
Then Maria began her pajama party all alone with Sakutaro, having fun until late into the night. She played by sticking her hand into the bag of jelly beans without looking, trying to guess which color she'd pull out next. Sakutaro had good intuition and got it right a lot. Maria also had a brilliant streak, where she guessed right 4 times in a row. The game where she split peanuts open and tried to guess which was the grandpa was easier than guessing the color of the jelly bean, so she got it right a lot. What the fuck is that game with you? Sucking her salt-covered fingers was impolite, but that was the yummiest part. She liked both cola and melon soda on their own, so she tried mixing it. She hoped that by mixing her 2 favorite drinks, there might be a flash of light like alchemy. A new drink that no one had ever tasted before would be created. She got excited about how, if it turned out really delicious, she'd call it Sakutaro soda and sell it. But unexpectedly, it had a weird taste that she hadn't hoped for, and the color was somewhat dull and thick. Maybe I shouldn't have been surprised that black and green mixed together would make this? Too bad. I imagined that it would become a sparkling pineapple color. But it was an awesome, incredible fun night. If it's this fun here, maybe Mama will feel like coming home and drop by out of the blue. So I got the feeling that Mama might suddenly come home and went to the front door many times to check. But there was no way Mama would be able to come home when she was this busy with work. But rather than feeling a loneliness, it felt just a little disappointing that Mama couldn't join in on this fun late night party. Sometime soon, I'll do this when Mama is around and let her join in. Mama likes some things I don't think are yummy. So maybe she'll really like Sakutaro soda. When Mama comes back tired, I'll serve her some. And more than anything, I want to at least write about this fun night in a letter and tell Mama all about it, so that this feeling of happiness will reach Mama too. Her work is always so tough and she comes home so tired, so I hope I can share this happiness with her. Mama will almost certainly come home tired late Sunday night. I hope I can brighten her day even just a little by sharing this happiness. I gently placed that letter on Mama's desk. To Mama. Good job with your work again today. Let me share my happiness with you. From Maria. Then I decided to give a present to Sakutaro for proposing this wonderful party. It was a small red muffler I found when searching for treasure in the closet. When I was still very young, Mama knitted this tiny thing. Maria was embroidered on it with a knitting wool. I softly wrapped that muffler around Sakutaro. It really suited him, accenting his yellow with red very well. Sakutaro looked embarrassed as he wore his first present ever.
Why is there... No, this is not UK. Ya, UK kan ada garis di cross-nya juga. Itu red cross, red cross circle, red cross circle.
I think it's UK.
No, I don't think so. Country with red cross symbol.
Switzerland.
Denmark.
Itu Denmark.
Enggak sih, tapi
How did that sound
bukan.
Denmark?
Apa? Itu
United
apa?
Kingdom.
England.
England. So before it united into a kingdom.
Well, bukannya England sama UK itu dua hal yang berbeda. Emang beda.
I don't know, man. I don't have geography, okay? Aku bahkan nggak tahu
No, the
Jawa.
UK and England are not the same. England is just one part of the UK. Oh.
We learn new things every day in VN Sunday, guys. Yeah, it really looks good on him.
サクタロ、いつも本当にありがとう。こんなにも楽しい夜になったよ。どうしてマリアは泣いてたのか、もうこれからも一緒にいようね。そしていつも楽しく遊んで笑っていようね。うりゅう、マリア大好き。マリアもだよ。サクタロ大好き。
Dia pikir Sakutaro kenapa nggak dibawa ke Rokkenjima karena Sakutaro hilang.
Mati ya. After playing so wildly, Maria's room was a mess. Maybe she played a little too much. but I'm tired for today, so let's sleep together. And tomorrow we'll clean up together and welcome Mama with a clean room. Alright, Sekitaro? What do you?
ね、マリアは、マリアとサク太郎はこんなにも幸せだよ。
これがマリアお姉ちゃんの幸せなの？
You deserve the world
マリアは
and
幸
more.
せ。
ローザおばさんはあんなにも楽しみにして絶対だよと約束した映画の約束を完全に忘れてた。
お仕事で忙しかったから、たまたま仮に覚えてたとしても、お仕事じゃどうしようもない。覚えてても覚えてなくても、どちらにせよ、ママはお仕事でお泊まり。映画には行けなかった。約束を覚えてたかどうかなんて、些細な問題だよ。
There's no way that's a minor issue. After all, when Aunt Rosa answered movie on the phone, it was obvious that she had completely forgotten her promise. And when she heard that, Maria One-chan's mood definitely darkened.
確かにマリアお姉ちゃんの言う通り、ローザおばさんが約束を覚えていたとしても結局映画には行けなかった。でもそれでもお母さんとのささやかな休日を過ごす約束を一方的に忘れられていたなんて悲しい。私なら怒る。
悲しかったよ。たとえ覚えててくれたとしても、映画には行けなかったわけだから。でも、私はその後、サク太郎ととても楽しく夜を過ごした。エンジェもパジャマパーティーがすっごく楽しそうだって思ったはず。
楽しいわけなんかない。だって、この夜のマリアお姉ちゃんのはしゃぎぶりは、お母さんが帰ってこなくて寂しく。
サクタ、
いいえ、違う。
Wait, what? Okay. Was this then making a big fuss about nothing else I could do? But you were lonely and that your mother wasn't coming home.
お姉ちゃんは悲しくて約束を忘れてたお母さんが憎くて部屋で暴れただけじゃない。
そんなこと、マリアの日記のどこに書いてあったの？
書いてはいない。でもこの一行飛ばしで書いてある行間からお姉ちゃんの気持ちがわかるの。お姉ちゃんはこの夜を楽しくなんか過ごさなかった。
Siapa yang lebih tahu, author atau pembaca?
それで言いつけを破って夜更かしをし、おやつの時間以外には食べてはいけないと厳しく言われていたルールを破ってお菓子を食べ、それでも悲しみが埋められなくて部屋の中で暴れて散らかしただけじゃない。そして部屋中を散らかして疲れ切って、そのままベッドのシーツをかきむしりながら泣き疲れて眠っただけ。
日記には確かに、ママが映画の約束を忘れてたらしいこと。そして、私が夜更かしをしてサク太郎とパジャマパーティーをして、宝探しで部屋を散らかしてしまったと書かれてるね。
ええ、それはつまり、そういうことじゃない。マリアお姉ちゃんは、ローザおばさんの愛に飢えていた。そしてローザおばさんは、自分の仕事や世間体ばかりを優先して、いつもお姉ちゃんを後回しにしていた。だから虫唾が走るのよ。ローザおばさんの、お姉ちゃんのことを愛しているという言葉が、どれほど上辺だけのものか知っているから。お姉ちゃんだって知ってるはず。なのに、なんで自分は幸せだなんて言えるの？マリアお姉ちゃんの、そのあたりが私にはわからない。この年になってもさっぱり理解できない。どうして悲しくないの？どうして不幸な現実を知りながら自分は幸せだなんて言えるの？私にはできない。わからない。
エンジェは悲しい子だね。
わけわかんない。どうして私が哀れまれなければならないの？
私の日記には、こんなにも楽しくパジャマパーティーの事実が記されているのに、同じ事実も、異なる人間が観測すると、異なる姿になってしまうんだね。
I remember talking about something like this with Bern Castle. Truth is unfixed and changes its form every time it is witnessed. By the way it is perceived, in other words, depending on the person who perceives it, a single truth becomes different truths. And truths of the past are painted over by truths of the future.
マリアはこの日記で、この夜の出来事を、とても楽しかったと記した。
マリアお姉ちゃんは、この夜の出来事を、とても幸せだったと記述した。
なのに日記を読んだエンジェは、この夜の出来事を、とても悲しかったと読んだ。
マリアお姉ちゃんは幸せだと記述したのに、私はそうではないと読み解いた。
やめて。これは、幸せな夜を記したものなの。これが、この夜の真実。お願いだからその幸せな真実を、新しい、そして異なった真実で、塗りつぶさないで。
マリアお姉ちゃんにはこれで、幸せなの？
うん。幸せ。だから同じ境遇の時、幸せに感じられないエンジェが、かわいそう。
Right now, I'm like she was then. Just as isolated, with no friends. And she had accepted her isolated reality for what it was. But Maria painted over her isolated reality with the reality of happiness. Shiromiya Maria took a sad truth and changed it into happiness. That was her magic. The only and yet very large difference between me and Maria One-chan. And even though I am unable to accept it, I'm also jealous of that power.
うん。そうなの。それは力なの。その力があるマリアは幸せになれて、その力がないエンジェは幸せになれない。
その力は、何なの？
マリアも、その力を何と呼ぶかわからなかっ
It's
た。
called gaslight.
この時点ではね。やがて、その正体を教えてもらうの。後に話すよ。
It's
後の
detachment.
ページで。そして、日曜日の深夜、ママは約束通り、お土産を持って帰ってきた。
Oh, back to Rock and Dreamers? Oh no.
ただいま。
ママ、おかえりー。ママ帰ってきた。ママ帰ってきた。
Waiting to greet Rosa as she returned home all tired out was Maria in an unbelievably good mood holding Sakutaro. Most likely, Rosa's worn-out expression was partly because she really was tired, but partly because it would be a pain when Maria, who should have been grumbling after staying home alone for several days, would cling to her sobbing. However, when she was welcomed by an unbelievably happy Maria and found that her fears were unbelievably needless, Rosa couldn't hide her surprise.
どうしたのマリア。とてもご機嫌ね。誰か来ているの？
It was strange enough to make Rosa think that a friend had come over, and that she'd come home right when they were having a good time playing together. But there was no other shoes by the entrance. Even though Maria was such in high spirits, she had been home, alone. At first, Rosa was suspicious that the cause of this unexpected good mood could be nothing good. But that really was a needless fear, and in any event...
Right.
Sabar. Maria really had been in a good mood while she watched over the house. Even if Rosa's heart had been as cold and hard as a rock, after being welcomed with a smile like this, Rosa started to honestly accept that smile, and a smile rose to her own face automatically. In that smile, you can no longer see any of the weariness of someone who had been unable to return home for several days. Maria kept talking about what a fun time she had playing with her stuffed animal Sakutaro. Rosa really hadn't imagined that the stuffed animal she herself had given would be so appreciated, and she couldn't hide her pleased surprise.
そう、サク太郎と一緒に仲良くお留守番していたのね。偉いわマリア。そんな偉いマリアとサク太郎にお土産があるわよ。
お土産。
Uryu.
お土産。なんだろうね。なんだろうね。
Both Maria and Sakutaro started jumping around. There were two presents. One contained an assortment of Western sweets. Inside was a Scotch cake. It looked to be of very high quality. But Maria was more interested in the other one. The other one was an even bigger box, and it was pretty heavy.
開けてごらん。マリアとサク太郎の新しいお友達になれるかもね。
Wow. The origin of Sakutaro's destiny. Inside there, like chess pieces, were about 20 small ceramic figures shaped like animals. Squirrels, rabbits, small birds.
It's a bad idea to use ceramic for
ceramic, real. And they were all holding musical instruments. In addition to them, there was also a panorama-style background. A forest scene was drawn on it. The small forest animals were gathered in a plaza and looked like they were having a good time. Rosa set it up on the table, and when she then lined up the ceramic figure like chess piece in front of it, it became a band of forest animals.
素敵でしょ？お店のショーウィンドウで見て一目惚れしちゃったの。これをいい子でお留守番してたマリアにプレゼントするわ。
ありがとうママ。すごいねサク太郎。お友達がこんなに増えちゃったね。サク太郎の言う通りだった。楽しく賑やかに過ごしてたらお友達が増えちゃうって本当だった。ね、言った通りでしょ。ほらね、お友達が増えた。ほらね、お友達が増えた。うりゅー。
What are you? Relieved that her gift had been appreciated, Rosa remembered that she had been filled with several days of weariness.
本当にお疲れ様。シャワー浴びてくるといいよ。あったかいの浴びるときっと疲れが取れるよ。湯船にする？マリアが今日は入浴剤を選んであげるね。
ありがとう。でも、もう遅いからマリアは寝る支度をなさい。ママも疲れたからシャワーだけ浴びてすぐ寝るわ。明日も早いし。
わかった。はいママ、コート脱がしてあげる。
大丈夫だってば。ありがとう。
ママのコート、お外の匂いがいっぱいする。おー。あ、ごめん。何か落とした。拾うね。
When she took Rosa's coat, a receipt or ticket stub or something fell out. It had been in Mama's pocket, so it was probably important. Maria hurriedly picked it up. It looked like a ticket for the green car or the Shinkansen or something. Atami? Wasn't that a place famous for its hot spring? Whoa! At that moment, with a razor-sharp sound, the warm atmosphere shattered. Instead of the Rosa who had been there for just a second ago, enjoying the gift with her daughter and recovering from her weariness with the long-awaited return home, there stood a person who looked exactly the same, but who had a completely different, terrifying expression on her face. In her hand was the ticket stub that Maria had picked up. She had stolen it from Maria's hand in an instant. Just a few seconds too late. By the pain of her hand that had been hit. And her mother's expression. Maria realized that she must have done something wrong. But she didn't know what she had done that had gotten her in trouble. It was probably because of the ticket stub-like thing. Was she not supposed to touch it? Even though she had tried so hard to welcome Mama with fun and happiness, she had touched something important to Mama without asking and had ruined that pleasant atmosphere. So Maria apologized immediately.
ごめんなさい。
Even though she must have heard those words of apology, Rosa's expression actually darkened. Maybe those weren't the words she had been hoping for. Maria didn't know what to do and stared at her mother's reaction. Then, even though it should have been such an important ticket stub, Rosa crushed it up and hurried off to her room. Maria didn't really understand what she had done wrong.
マリア、きっと余計なことをしたんだね。あの紙はきっとママのお仕事の大切なものだったんだね。それに勝手に触っちゃったから。ウリュウ、マリアは悪くないよ。だから今夜だってこんなにも幸せ。幸せ。ママだってお風呂に入ってすっきりしたらいつもの優しいママに戻ってくれるよ。だから気にしちゃダメ。ウリュウ。そうだね。
Sebenarnya pulang malamnya bukan karena kerjaan.
Remember the thing when Rosa when Maria said her mom had dates?
No, I don't know the bug.
Ya, anjir kamu balik kalau kayak lama banget itu sebelum pajama party ya.
今夜だってマリアたちはこんなにも幸せ。ウリュウ。もうやめてよ。見てられない。エンジェは幸せの見つけ方が間違ってると思うよ。間違ってるのはお姉ちゃんでしょ。これのどこが幸せだってのよ。もう痛々しくて見てられない。何が？ママが急に怒り出したこと？人間疲れていればそういうこともあるものだよ。一時の感情のすれ違いだけで相手を全否定するのってエンジは大人じゃないと思うよ。
Kamu sangat otona ya, Maria.
9歳のマリアお姉ちゃんに言われるとは。
I'm feeling this from
I know, right?
でもそんなことじゃないでしょ。お姉ちゃんが拾ったあの半券、明らかにおかしいじゃない。
何が？何もおかしくないし、今夜の幸せと何も関係ないよ。
ローザおばさんは仕事で会社に泊まり込むって電話してきたんでしょ。なんで熱海？それって旅行でしょ。マリアお姉ちゃんを置き去りにして旅行に行ってたってことでしょ。しかも普通旅行って言ったら一人では。
あれが仮に熱海行きの件だったとしても、だからってママが嘘をついて旅行に行った証拠にはならないよ。
電話で嘘をついてあんなにも形相変えて奪い取って何よりの証拠じゃない。
昔の仕事で出張した時のものかもしれないよ。あるいはゴミか何かをたまたまポケットに入れちゃっただけかも。
Oh my god.
Yeah,
部
something
下の人
something
が出張
ignorance
した
is
時
obvious,
の
you
領
know.
収書かもしれないね。だったら仕事の大切なもの、おもちゃじゃないんだからママが取り上げたのもうなずけるよ。エンジェの言う証拠なんて単なる状況証拠、想像と妄想。どうしてマリアとママの仲が悪くなるように解釈するのかわからないよ。
どうしてお姉ちゃんがそこまでローザおばさんの都合がいいように解釈できるかの方がわからない。
やっぱりエンジェはかわいそうな子。
かわいそう。
君を幸せにしてくれるかけらはこんなにもたくさん身の回りに落ちているのに、それを見つけられない。なのに不幸せなかけらばかり見つけてしまって傷つき続けている。だからエンジェは傷つくことに怯え、傷つけるものが身の回りにないかどうか、それを確かめ終わるまで幸せ探しすら始められない。
お姉ちゃんと話をしてるとおかしいのがどっちかわからなくなってくるわ。
あのね、幸せのかけらも不幸せのかけらもどちらもいっぱいあって世界を満たしてるの。だから身近の幸せが見つけられない人はどこまで探しに行っても見つけられない。チルチルとミチルが青い鳥を探したみたいに。
そうね、そういう教訓の話だった。
エンジェはその正反対、不幸せなかけらが全くない世界を探してる。でもそれだって青い鳥と同じなんだよ。だから永遠にエンジェは自分の幸せを見つけられない。バトラはヘンゼルなの？青い鳥なんじゃないの？
もういい加減にして。
怖いね。一枚の紙切れで。なら幸せを取り戻す力も一枚の紙切れに宿れるかもしれないよね。
Just when she had finally been able to communicate with Maria after so long, Rosa's face twisted with a mixture of anger, sadness, and a fierce self-hatred as she flew into her room and closed the door. Maria's sorry had sliced into her chest sharper than a knife. At the time, she noticed a cute envelope placed on her study table. It was probably something that had come with the girl's magazine. To Mama. Let me share my happiness with you, it said. She took it and after hesitating, opened it and read what was inside. Then, after letting 2 large tears drip down the paper, she flew out of the room, hugged Maria from behind as she headed for the bedroom, buried her face into her daughter's back, and cried. Then, realizing that she was the one who should be apologizing. She apologized. Why is Mama apologizing? There was no answer to that question.
ほら、もう仲直り。あんなの、ママとマリアの仲良しの前には、全然気にすることないんだよ。
私には、マリアお姉ちゃんの幸せは、辛すぎる。
エンジェの気持ちも、一応は理解するよ。マリアだって、この力に気づくまでは、今のエンジェと同じで、不幸なかけらしか見つけられない気の毒な子だったから。
その力って何？私になくてお姉ちゃんにはある。そしてそれがないから私は不幸で、お姉ちゃんは幸福だというの？力という抽象的な表現でしか理解できないそれは一体どんな力なの？
うん。エンジェはそれが知りたいんだよね。だから私の物語をここまで読み進めてきたんだもんね。もちろんだよ。教えてあげる。この力の秘密を。そして私は昔、幼いエンジェにちゃんと教えてあげたんだよ。忘れちゃってる？大丈夫。思い出せるよ。今から私が、教えてあげる。
彼女って誰？
Beatrice.
わらわがそれを
Wah.
マリアに代わって教える。
ベアトリーチェ。
マリアにはあって、そなたにはない力。
マリアにあって、エンジェにない力。
Maho. Maria and Beato said it together. And then they started giggling because they said it at the same time. It was an innocent reaction, one that didn't seem like Beato at all. I'm not gonna be fooled by you again, bitch. Black tea was arranged on a table in the peaceful garden. And Beato, Maria, and Sakataro, who was sitting on Maria's lap, were having fun chatting.
ほう、そうか。作太郎と申すか。そなたの一番の友人とな。
ウリュウ、はじめまして。作太郎と申します。
Apa iya?
作
Kata
太郎は
Maria.
人見知りするから緊張してるの。大丈夫だよ。ベアトリーチェもマリアの素敵なお友達
If
なんだ
Anjay
よ。
can be influenced by Beatrice, and Anjay
マ
is
リアの
helping
友達は
Battara, we lost
僕
again.
の友達？ウリュウ。じゃあ僕もベアトリーチェの友達？ウリュウ。
マリアにとっては、このようなことは日常においてよくあることなのか。
何が？
このように無機物に魔法の魂を込め生を宿らせることはそなたの日常においては左半時なのか。
おお、作太郎は無機物じゃないよ。ライオンの子だよ。うりゅ
ぬいぐるみはよりしろとして優秀だ。ゆえに毒を持たぬ無垢な子供が話しかけることによってそれに応えようとする精霊が宿ることが少なくない。
Oh shit, bro. According to Beatrice, every time a child plays with a doll, the dolls will actually gain a will and converse with them, sometimes even moving by their own will. However, because of their innocence, the power imbued into such vessel is very weak. If they get struck with even a tiny bit of the toxin from a human's common sense, which says that there's no way a doll can talk or move, they instantly revert to being non-speaking dolls.
しかしそなたのその作太郎というぬいぐるみは違う。
作太郎はぬいぐるみだけど、ぬいぐるみじゃない。ウリュウ、ライオンの子。ウリュウ。作太郎はライオンの子だけど、まだ子供だから、時ウリウリウリュウ。ウリウリウリュウ。
Gazing at Maria, who was playing around with Saktaro by the table loaded with tea, Beatrice let out a sigh of admiration.
なんということか。作太郎とやらはその布地と綿のよりしろを書くに完全に人間界に顕現している。自らの人格を持ち、召喚者と自在に対話をし、しかも自らの意志で動いている。
When yeah.
しかもさらに驚くべきは、それが異界の人物を名指しして呼び寄せたものではなく、
He just creates a new person.
ゼロの海から生み出したものという点だ。
Umi mentioned. After that, Maria boasted to Beato that Sakataro wasn't her only friend, and that she had many more of them back at home. It seemed there were other similar stuffed animals and dolls who could talk and move their own will like Sakataro. It was something natural for Maria. It was natural for stuffed animals to talk, move, and become her friends of their own will. When she saw that Maria accepted this as something natural as a witch, Beatrice felt a respect bordering on awe.
マリア、そなたのその力は紛れもなく魔法である。
魔法なの？マリアはまだ魔女見習いだから魔法なんて使えないよ。
いいや、魔法だ。それを自覚して使えぬから未だ見習いなのであろうが、それにしても大した魔力。そなたの友人作太郎の権限こそがその立派な証であるぞ。
権限って？
This is the kind of magic I want.
What do you mean, man?
そなたの場合は
I wanna have friends.
想像と呼んでも良いであろうな。
Play this game called Final Fantasy XIV, join a free company.
I cannot have a pajama party with those friends.
Shut the fuck up, man.
I wanna have my pajama party.
他人の手にあっては何の魂
I'm being genuine. I'm not race-baiting. I want a pajama
そな
party
た
right
の魔法
now,
によって
today.
魂を吹き込まれてい
I'm gonna go buy a big soda
る。しか
later.
もそれ
I'll have my
を
own
強
pajama
力な
party
力で
alone.
人間界に留めている。これほどまでに魔法を否定する毒気に満たされた現代において、一個の生命体足り得るほどに権限できる魔力
Oh, yung support
はわら
na
わとて
Maria.
容易なことではないわ。
It isn't hard to give birth to any number of soulless beings. However, giving birth to a being with a soul is very difficult. This is what Beato asserted.
ベアトが言うのがよくわかんない。作太郎がすごいってこと？
作太郎とそなたが共に素晴らしいということだ。
I'm not gonna be fooled by you, bitch.
誇ってよい。なるほど。金蔵の最も欲したものはそなたに一番濃く宿っているらしい。
なんでベアトにそんなに褒められるのかさっぱり。ねえ作太郎。うりゅー。
真に驚嘆すべきはぬいぐるみに魂を宿したことだけではないのだ。それにより自己の世界観まで変化させた。そなたは無より有を生じる力が群を抜いている。1を100にすることはたやすい。 しかし0から1を生じることはたやすくはない。そなたが一人前の魔女になったなら、わらわと双璧どころかわらわとて一目置かざるを得ない大魔女に成長。原初の魔
Weh.
女、そなたの将来がわらわにとっても楽しみだ。
A witch of origin.
よかったね、マリア。ウリュウ、ベアとマリアを褒めてくれてありがとう。
礼には及ばぬぞ、サク太郎。その赤いマフラーは実に似合っているぞ。そしてそなたのような友人を生み出せるそなたの主人の才能に嫉妬する。
I almost said I want to have that ability to give birth.
これマリアにプレゼントしてもらったの。僕のお気に入り。
まさにそなた専用のマフラーになるために生まれてきたようなサイズであるな。これはわらわも新しき友人に何かプレゼントを贈らねばなる
お、ベアトがサク太郎にプレゼントを。
まい。魔女の贈り物は魔力あるものと決まっておる。ならばそなたの友人がいつまでもそなたの友人でいられるよう、サク太郎にわらわの魔力を。
Rela Sakutara jadi pembunuhnya anjing. Rela
そ
Sakutara.
れにさらに強く権限することができるだろう。
Sakutara is the kill.
サク太郎ともっともっと楽しく遊べるようになるの？どうやって？
Sakutara berubah jadi beneran singa. It's not a cub anymore.
それって怖いこと？大丈夫だよ。ベアトは怖いことなんて何もしないよ。ね、ベアトリーチェ。
うん、必ず気に入ってもらえるはずだ。さて、より強く権限するにはより強いイメージが必要であるな。さてさて、どうしたものか。
Beato crossed her arms and thought about what she could do to please them even more. Then, right there, another page appeared. It was the form of yet another witch. It was Beato's teacher, Virgilia. Virgilia truly was a great witch. Since Maria already thought of Beato as a great witch, this person Beato called a great witch must have been a great witch. According to Beato, she still didn't even rise up to this witch's feet when it comes to magical power.
おやおや、賑やかな声が聞こえてくると思ったら楽しそうなお茶会ですこと。おお、お師匠様、ちょうどいいところへこのライオンの子を見てほしい。マリアの新しい友人だそうだ。可愛らしいライオンさんですね。ご挨拶はできるのかしら。はじめまして、こんにちは。
ウリュウ、サク太郎と申します。
Sakutaro fell to Maria's lap, greeting Virgilia with half of his face poking out over the edge of the table. It seemed he was very nervous, since this was a witch that even Beato called teacher.
可愛らしい名前だこと。上手な挨拶ができたご褒美にお菓子をあげましょうね。
After waving her hands about, Virgilia held the palm of her hand upwards, as though she was lightly grabbing at the empty air. Then, she held her fist out in front of Sakutaro. When she opened her face, there was one of those individually wrapped cough drops. Oh, I need that.
飴だよ、マリア。すごいすごい。よかったね、サク太郎。ちゃんとお礼を言ってね。ウリュウ、飴をどうもありがとうございます。ペコリ。
Even though Virgilia was a great witch, she still treated a stuffed animal like Sakutaro to an elegant greeting.
しかしお師匠様、のど飴とはまたババ臭い。せめて
ババ臭い
いちごミルクのキャンディーとか出ないのかよ。
これはひどい。もうあなたには飴をあげませんよ。
悪い悪い。さて、マリア。もちろん筆記用具もな。
Mari kita menulis.
ですよ。何か書くの？
おや、何を始めるのですか？
お師匠様に習った魔法を使うのだ。よりしろに異界の住人を権限させる魔法。あれの応用でこのマリアの友人を権限させる力をより強めることができるのではないかと思ってな。それをマリアとマリアの友人への贈り物としたい。
なるほど。すでに権限している存在ならそう難しいことではないでしょう。それは素敵な贈り物になりそうですね。では私もささやかですが協力しましょう。
お師匠様が立ち会い人にサインしてくれる魔法なら心強い。喜べマリア。これは素晴らしい贈り物になるぞ。
うりゅ？何が始まるの？怖くない？怖くない？わかんない。でも怖くないと思う。なんだろうね。楽しみだね。
Beato borrowed the grimoire from Maria's handbag and majestically flipped through the pages. Then she found an empty page among those with magic circles drawn on them and flattened it out. After gazing at Sakutaro with a grin, she suddenly started moving her pen. It was something like a written declaration made by witches to a high order world. It was magic whose effect could be controlled if Beatrice wrote and Virgilia signed. Maria didn't understand what Beato was fighting at first, but partway through she figured out the wonderful magical power of this document, and her eyes began to sparkle.
うりゅ？うりゅ？どうしたのマリオ？何を書いてるの？うりゅ？うりゅ？
Sakutaro was on her lap, so he didn't know what was being written on the table. But even if he had seen, Sakutaro probably wouldn't have understood.
すごいよサクタロウ。待ってて、もうすぐだよ。もうすぐだよ。ベアトすごい。ベアトすごい。
力ある書面の筆記においてこの子の才能は素晴らしい。あなたになら魔界の書記官すら務まりそうですよ。
これでどうか。まずまずであろう。
After finishing her writing with an intense amount of concentration, Beato looked over the document again from a distance. It seemed she was fairly satisfied with her work. And Maria, who was also peeking in at it, let out a cry of wonder.
すごいよベアト。かわいい。
黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェの名において
Maria's
マリアの
child.
子サク太郎をここに認める。お師匠様、立ち会い人にサインを頼む
The
ぜ。
killer is actually Maria's child that came from the future.
Oh,
It was Sakutaro.
shit.
Holy shit.
はいはい。我が名においてこの先生に立ち会い認めるものなりできましたよ。
Julia signed, completing the written declaration. Sakutaro berubah jadi orang. It was a document with the power to proclaim to the beings of a higher world that Sakutaro had most certainly materialized in the human world. Sakutaro, who had been born from Maria, was nominated by the two witches Beatrice and Virgilia. And just now, his existence had been acknowledged by the higher world. That itself was a great magic of materialization. According to Beato, it was apparently quite fortunate that Virgilia was there. After all, depending on the number and quality of witches that signed proclamation to the higher world, the power that resided in them could change drastically. Virgilia, in particular, had many friends in that higher plane. Signature gave the proclamation of a power with which Beatus couldn't even compare.
この宣言書により、汝作太郎を自がある一個人と認める。そしてその存在をマリアージュ・ソルシエールの条約に従い、友人として迎える。今より作太郎は我ら共通の友人。
Common friend.
それにふさわしき姿を贈り物としてそなたに贈ろう。受け取るがよい。
With the grimoire still opened to the page with the proclamation, she turned it around and handed it to Maria. Maria showed it to Sakutaro on her lap. When Sakutaro beheld that proclamation, he felt something hot and bright begin to dwell in his body made of cloth and cotton. As he looked around, nervous at the sensation he had never felt before, that power strengthened. And eventually, a bright light completely swallowed him up.
Sakutaro is Maria's furniture.
Whoosh, the stretch. Wah! Dare! Kawaii. Then, when that light disappeared, there Maria's friend Sakutaro held a new form and existed.
Oh my god, already a witch of Maria Sorcerer. Yes, Maria's right heart itself. You might even say she is a second Lady Maria, and it refers to her. He holds the decoration of a diplomat, and none may attack him. Not any of the witches, weapons, and furniture in the alliance. Nor any of the demons and divines in the contract with the... Oh yeah, so when you about to get killed, just hide behind Sakutaro. Holy shit, it's just easy. That's holy shit.
iPad. He is the symbol of peace. I'm not a lion anymore.
恥ずかしくない？
マフラーがチャームポイントだと思ってな。あとは耳だ。獣耳はいいぞ。実にかわいい。あとでわらわにもかじらせよ。
Wow.
ありがとう、ベアトリーチェ。素敵なプレゼントを本当にありがとう。
礼には及ばぬ。
And then in the future, when Anje explored Rokkenjima, he found a Nekomimi person in that island.
そなたの素晴らしき魔法と友人に
Holy shit.
敬意を表したまでよ。そして
Big writing.
この域にまで達したそなたはもはや見習いをいつ卒業してもおかしくない。今日よりさらに新しく楽しい魔法を伝授してやろう。これより原初の魔女見習いのマリアと名乗るがよい。
原初の魔女って？
うん、造物種の道を求める魔女の称号よ。今は身の回りの小物に魔力を吹き込む力しか持たぬエンチャンターでしかない。しかし1000年の修行を経たならば、その胸の内より魔法体系はおろか銀河を生み出すことも夢ではあるまい。
原初の魔女の才能はとても希少。幼き日には誰もが持つのに誰も持ち続けることができない。この称号はあなたが汚れなき心を失わなかったことの証でもありますね。
原初の魔女すごい。なる。マリア、原初の魔女見習い。マリア、すごいね。ス 原初の魔女、すごいすごい。うりゅ
やがては
Terus
一
terus
人
Angge
前の
kemana
原初
sekarang?
の
What
魔
the
女
fuck is
マリア教を名乗ることになろう。作太郎だけでなく、そろそろそなたもその格にふさわしい身なりをしても良い頃であろうな。それ、見習いとはいえ魔女の名を語るにふさわしき服装を与えよう。
When Beata waved the pipe that was her cane, many gold butterflies that had appeared out of nowhere grouped around Maria, giving her a wonderful dress. The new witch is Maria? Damn.
Maria found the gold instead of oh my.
It certainly was fitting for the girl. Yay! Yippee!
The Witch of Origin will live for 1,000 years in the future. She holds the motherly magic power to give birth to a one from the Sea of Zero. At a glance, this magical power is frail, but no matter how many times you multiply zero, you never end up from anything more than zero. However, the one she gave birth to will one day surpass even the heavens. She is loyally protected by the bears who understand her true worth. The two of them are members of the same alliance.
Since when there's an alliance of witches? It certainly was fitting for the girl who would eventually take the name of the Witch of Origins, combining both cuteness and dignity.
すごいすごいすごいすごいすごい。かわいいかわいい。このお洋服ママにも見せたい。ダメ？
魔女の清掃はみだりに見せてはならぬぞ。もったいぶった方が価値が出るというもの。
Then, the Great Witch, the Witch, and the Witch Apprentice and their new friend Sakutaro enjoyed a lively tea party. Until Angie comes around.
ね、私はこんなにも幸せだよ。そしてこんなにも楽しい。幸せになることをどうか恐れないで。幸せになるというのは今の不幸を受け入れるという意味じゃないの。今の不幸の中に幸せを新しく生み出すということなの。それが原初の魔法。
私は今の自分の世界を認めたくなかった。こんなにも孤独で辛い世界を肯定するのが許せなかった。だからマリアお姉ちゃんの世界に惹かれながらも最後の一戦で受け入れられなかった。
教えてあげる。マリアの原初の魔法を。いいえ、教えたことがあったはず。そしてあなたにも使えたはずなんだよ。忘れちゃった？エンジェだってマリアージュ・ソルシエールに名を連ねる魔女の見習いだったでしょ。
It's the name of the alliance
ini
is
nama
Maria
alliance
Sorcier.
alliance.
Yeah.
ええ、そうだったわね。マリアージュ・ソルシエール、懐かしいわね。私もそこに名を連ねていることがあったっけ。
Wih, nggak pecah-pecah dari tadi.
Real ketemu Sakutaro. Real ketemu Sakutaro ya. Sakutaro udah tua.
Kita ketemu Maikai lagi.
あれは忘れもしな
Karena
い
gue tahu itu.
Okay. Sakutaro is the killer, guys. Culpritnya Maria, tapi killernya Sakutaro. Udah, we lost. I thought Sakutaro would be given a lion body, like a real lion. Kan dia kan lion cup gitu, jadi dewasa gitu. Tapi jadi Shota gitu. Is it Shota or Loli? I don't know what Sakutaro gender is. Seems like a man's name, a boy's name. Sakutaro Beatrice. Before NG Beatrice, ada Sakutaro Beatrice.
1987年4月のことです。私は友人からある奇妙な依頼を受けました。とある大富豪の遺品である蔵書が大量に競売にかけられていて、その一部に民族学的にも考古学的にも、あるいはオカルト的な意味でも極めて価値の高いものが含まれていると思われる、その価値を内密に見てほしいというのです。
87年、六軒島での事件の半年後。
さようです。それらの蔵書は六軒島での難を逃れたものと説明されていました。それを島の所有者である後宮エバ氏が競売に出したというのです。
This was apparently a high-class restaurant. A middle-aged man was sitting across from Angie in a secluded and quiet seat. Amakusa could be seen by the entrance. He was probably keeping a lookout from the pursuer from the Sumadera family. The scholarly man across from Angie spoke politely, but with enthusiasm. He didn't lay a finger on the food in front of him, so you could tell how excited he was as he spoke fervently. He was a professor at a certain college and particularly well known as an authority on Western folklore. However, among his life works, there was only a convenient exterior. His true life work was a witch, the study of occultism, Western magic, alchemy, and everything else to do with the occult. As well as demonology, the thing that I learned. In short, he was the person in the best position to understand the details of Ginzo's research.
Authority of the Western world is famous for his hobby researching the Okanjima witch legend as one of the witch hunter. The primary focus
Witch
of
hunter?
is the pasting together of occult stories to try and make them match with the Okanjima incident, making it much more of a mental game for dilettantes and enthusiastic than a scientific investigation into the truth of the crime.
まず蔵書を鑑定して分かったことは、後宮エバ氏には民族学的な教養は全くなく、そしてその蔵書の本来の持ち主である後宮金蔵氏は、日本で五子に入る悪魔学の権威であったことは間違いないということです。
April 1987. A major city antique shop obtained a large quantity of ancient documents that were thought to have a high historical value. They were entrusted with them by Ushiromiya Eva, who wanted them to be sold at auction. At the time, it was thought that Eva would succeed the Ushiromiya family and have all the wealth to herself as the only survivor. However, at that point, not even half a year had passed since the accident, and the others had not been missing long enough to be presumed dead, even under extraordinary circumstances. Because of that, Eva had supposedly been in a very tight spot financially, unable even to collect on her family's life insurance. It seems she tried to sell everything of value. And even the books kept in the place where she escaped harm in Quadorian were used for this purpose. These old books, which would eventually be called the Ushiromiya Library, were later gathered from antique shops by authorities in the field so that they could be appraised. And those authorities were astounded.
少なくとも神秘学の見地から言えば、その発見が世界に与えた衝撃は司会文書発見にも匹敵するものでした。後ろ宮蔵書には、なんと1000年以上にもわたる間、その存在だけが知られているにもかかわらず、発見されていなかった数々の極めて重要な文献さえ含まれていたからです。
The many dreams of the occult, such as those represented by alchemy, always stirred an intense fascination in dilettantes. It is whispered that many magic books of great historical value, currently unknown to the public, might be in the secret possession of an extremely wealthy lovers of the occult. Items such as Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks, which are particularly popular among dilettantes, are said to be the prime example of this. It is said that approximately 5,000 pages of this notebook currently exist, and that over 10,000 have been lost. But some researchers believe that a large part of this lost portion may be monopolized by certain enthusiasts and the members of the extremely rich. It is said that because of this, even now, dilettantes who can't help but seek this spare no expense to search around for quietly hoarded away and unannounced notebooks. There is probably no doubting that Ushiromiya Kinzo was himself one of those dilettantes. No one knew what Kinzo went through to obtain those. But there can be no mistake that he used his very vast wealth freely, buying them off of other rich people with the same hobby as him. Those books, which were so valuable that enthusiasts could never satisfy their desire to hoard them away, were discovered in large number at the end of the 20th century. And their release to the public had given the entire world a massive shock.
この一件により、六軒島の名は全世界に知れ渡ることになります。そして同時に、六軒島の事故によって、未発見のさらに価値ある蔵書が大量に失われた可能性が高いことも、全世界に衝撃を与えました。これにより、六軒島と後ろ宮蔵書の名は、我々にとって生涯忘れないものとなったのです。
Our memories. That hour probably meant the occult neck of the woods with the same hobby as Kinzo. Because of that incident, the name of Rakanjima had taken on a vital meaning in the world of occult. There certainly had been a lot of reporting about the accident on Rakanjima itself, but not on an international level. However, this one part had spread across the world, taking the image of Rakanjima as a small island in the Izu archipelago and painting it over as a demonic island where riddle, suspicion, mystery, and occult met. In other words, until Kinzo's library was leaked to the public by Eva, Rakanjima had been a merely nameless island that no one could remember. And certainly not the island of a witch. However, when knowledge of the Ushiromiya library spread all over the planet, Rakanjima's image immediately took on an occult twist.
そして、そこへ起こるのが例のメッセージボトル事件です。これがあの島を魔女の島に変えた。伊豆諸島の無名の小島がオカルトの島へ、そして謎の魔女ベアトリーチェの島へと変遷していったのです。後ろ宮蔵書とメッセージボトル、このどちらが欠けても六軒島魔女伝説は成り立たなかったと言えます。
メッセージボトル。
はい、空の瓶に手紙を封印し海に投じるという不特定対象への通信方法です。無人島から SOS を発信するというのが有名ですが、海外の有名推理小説の影響で 自らの死後に真実を告白するという時間差的な遺書としても知られるようになりました。六軒島メッセージボトル事件はまさにこの後者だったのです。
近くの島の漁師が拾っていたというやつですね。
さようです。式根島の若い漁師が手紙入りのワインボトルを拾っていたことが分かったのです。この若い漁師は興味本位からそれをたまたま保管していました。それが後宮蔵書で六軒島が世界的注目を浴びたため公表したというのです。
その漁師による捏造の可能性は？
もちろんその可能性も否定できませんでした。ワインボトル内のノート片には後宮家のとある人物の署名がされていました。後宮マリアという少女です。しかし彼女の遺品の肉質から別人の筆跡であることが確認されました。
What?
別人の筆跡？
さようです。
Yang bikin yang pembunuh aslinya, yang ngebunuh apa namanya itu.
少なくとも少女より達筆で年齢のある人物によって書かれたことは疑いようがないでしょう。彼女の名を語った何者かが執筆した可能性が極めて高かったのです。よってこの時点ではノート片の内容の信憑性は薄いと考えられました。
However, later on it was confirmed that a similar message bottle had been recovered from the nearby ocean on the day of the accident by the police in their search for lost article, and this caused a sensation.
警察は現場の状況とボトルの封印状況から捏造の可能性は低く、事故直前の数日以内に投棄したものと判断したようです。また双方の筆跡は一致しました。これにより漁師の発見したノート片の信憑性が増すこととなりました。メッセージボトルの内容については週刊誌などが繰り返し報道しているようですが、説明がいりますかな？
いいえ、一応知っていますので。
Many scraps of paper had been stuffed into both the wine bottles. It was an extensive notebook written by someone calling themselves Shiromiya Maria, but who wasn't Maria, and which told of the events starting the day before the accident and up until the day of the accident in a diary-like way. And its content had been the beginning of the witch's legend's serial murder incident, as well as the golden witch Beatrice Puzzle.
この奇妙な日記風式には台風で島に釘付けにされた後宮家の親族たちが魔女復活の儀式に巻き込まれ、次々に不可解な方法で殺されていく様子が記されていました。そして最後に黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェが蘇り、全てを黄金鏡に飲み込む。まるでそれこそが当日の全容であるかのように記されていました。また当時の島の状況についても非常に詳しく描写されており、後宮家に勤務したことがある元の使用人たちは間違いなく内部に詳しい人間が書いたに違いないと証言しました。
そのおかしな幻想小説と後宮蔵書以降のオカルトブーム、そして結局は真相は闇の中という3つが合わさり、六軒島の魔女伝説を生み出したと？
さようです。すでに10年以上が経過した事件ですが、未だに世界のオカルトマニアの関心を集めています。いや、むしろ時間を得てますますに深刻化されたと言っていい。上陸禁止になっている六軒島に密かに上陸しようというマニアも未だに多いとか、未だ未発見のメッセージボトルがあるのではないか。そしてあの日、あの島で本当は何があったのか、未だに議論はつきませんとも。
As though he had finally remembered that he'd been going on and on for some time, the man took a gulp of water. His pottage was getting cold, but it seemed that the man's hunger had already been blown away.
確か、漁師のノート編と警察のノート編で内容が全く違うと聞きましたが。
さようです。このせいで、六軒島ミステリーはさらに面白みが増したのです。2つのボトルの中身は、どちらも事故前日から当日までを記した日記風の式です。しかしその内容は、共に前日から当日を記した内容であり、にもかかわらず、内容は全く異なったのです。
Yang satu ngejelasin game satu, yang satu ngejelasin game dua. Apa?
まるでどちらかが真実で、どちらかが虚偽のように。あるいは両方とも虚偽なのかもしれない。しかし、始まりと終わりだけは一致するのです。始まりは、親族たち18人は台風で島に閉じ込められた。そして終わりは、全員が死に、黄金の魔女が蘇り、すべては黄金鏡に飲み込まれる。
The contents of both message bottles wrote about the events of the day before the accident and the day of the accident. But the details were completely different. Both diaries outline a serial murder of the following epitaph of the witch, but the order of the sacrifice, the way they died, and even the tale of the 2 days were different. However, in both, everyone died in the end, and the witch revived, making for the same general plot.
あの島で何があったのか。唯一の生存者である後宮エバ氏が沈黙していた以上、あの2日間の出来事は全てが闇の中です。この2つの日記はその闇を埋める仮説を、こともあろうか、2つも提示してみせたのです。どちらの日記でも2日間を説明できる。しかし、どちらが正しいのか、あるいは正しいことが含まれているのかさえわからないのです。
Schrodinger's cat box. If it isn't denied, even a mixture of truth and fiction can be the truth. Through the media, these scraps of paper had of course been shown to Effa as well. But in the end, she never broke her silence.
誰が何のためにメッセージボトルを？
事件10周年特集を組んだ雑誌が以前大々的に取り上げたでしょう。あの仮説が今日では最も支持を集めているようです。しかし面白みには欠ける。あの島であの日何が起こったのか、それを考えるのがウィッチハントの醍醐味なのですな。
チャハント。
ウィッチハント？
ああ、ロッキン島ウィッチハントとは、この事件の真相をオカルトの側面から説明しようと試みるマニアの集いのことです。後宮蔵書から謎の2日間、そして黄金の魔女の伝説など、ロッケン島に関わる謎は今でもマニアの間で盛んに議論されているのです。10周年の時にはニューヨークで国際コンベンションを開かれました。私も日本の代表として参加してきましてね、海外の熱心なウィッチハンターと様々な交流をしてきましたよ。海外では魔女はとても人気のあるカテゴリーでしてね、参加者の年齢幅も下は小学生から上は著名な文化人まで実に幅広い。日本でも近年ようやく。
You probably don't need any more explanation, but he's one of the most famous Rokkenjima witch hunters in Japan. Even though I didn't ask anything more, he kept continuing on excitedly, but all by himself. As I swirled the thin films on my pottage with my spoon, I shrugged my shoulder and sighed. Looks like researching about the message bottle really was a waste of time. No. If there's one thing I have found, it's that the notebook supposedly written by Maria One-chan was actually written by a different person, faking her name. and that person wrote up an occult legend on their own, put it in the bottle as though it was the truth, and threw it into the sea. I have a question. Why would they all go all the trouble of writing so much in order to prepare a suspicious letter like that? With a message bottle, there'd be no guarantee that it would ever pass into anyone's hand. If their luck had been bad, it could have sunk into the ocean, never to be seen by anyone. And even if someone had picked it up, they might have not cared about it and thrown it away. Why would they entrust their confession of the truth to the sea with such an uncertain method? And why would they write up multiple, differing tales? If there has been one message bottle claiming that its story was the truth might be reckless, but not impossible. However, because there were two, that made both of them doubtful. If someone was plotting to make out those 2 days to be the work of a witch, then they really did go one step too far. And because there were two, it suggests that an undiscovered third one, or possibly even more, might exist. In other words, the two differing content makes both of them harder and harder to swallow. But despite that, the content of both match in that they told of a witch in the tale. So, is that the main point where the writer wanted to get across to? It seems to me that the only possible explanation is that someone who wanted to give rise to an illusion of a witch carried out this crime for their own enjoyment. However, the 17 people other than Aunt Eva lost their lives, and a vast wealth of maybe even 10 tons of gold had moved around secretly in the darkness. It doesn't feel right for a confession occurring after all that to bring up this illusion of the witch. Even if we ignore the magazine's theory, it's very doubtful that the message bottle really was a diary. After all, the amount of writing was massive. It's hard to imagine that someone actually caught up in the middle of serial murder like that would be able to calmly write it down. In that case, it's probably more realistic that this diary was written slowly over a long period of time, up until the day of the prior accident. In that case, would it mean that everything on Wakanjima was a planned crime? With everything prepared for over a long stretch of time? The fact that Aunt Eva left this world without saying anything is infuriating. She definitely said it on her deathbed. She definitely said that her reason for not telling me the truth was because it is her best way of harassing me. Yeah, by now it's painfully obvious. Of all the things Aunt Eva did to harass me, this was probably the last and the greatest. But thinking of it this way, it's pretty doubtful that Aunt Eva is the true culprit. Of course, that's not because the handwriting on the message bottle was different from Aunt Eva's or anything like that. It's because in both tales that were discovered, Aunt Eva was included amongst the victims.
Iya, berarti satu sama dua yang...
Yeah. If the writer of the diary was the culprit, maybe Aunt Eva was also one of the targets to be killed. Maybe Aunt Eva survived because something went wrong. Because I hated Aunt Eva, I came to believe that she had to be the culprit. But the existence of the message bottle makes me suspect that the mastermind is a far more profound and unknown person than her. Aku toilet dulu.
Oke.
Is that your... I'm back. I looked at the clock. I've heard more than enough. It's time for me to go to Rakenjima. As he continued to speak fervently, I suggested that I wanted to bring discussion to a close. He seemed to be aware that he'd gotten excited and talked too much, so he quickly accepted this.
今日は本当にありがとうございました。貴重なお話が聞けたと思います。
いえいえ、ウィッチハントの新しい仲間に若いお嬢さんをお迎えできて本当に楽しかったです。今日は歌詞を変えてしまったのでお見せできなかった貴重な資料がいくつもあります。次の機会の時にはぜひそれをお見せしましょう。
ありがとう先生。最後に聞いてもいいですか？
はい、何でしょうか。
先生はどうして魔女に、いえ、神秘学や悪魔学に興味を？
それを言われると恥ずかしい。不思議な力が使えたなら意地悪なガキ大将にも負けないのにという子供の頃の妄想がそのままライフワークになってしまっただけです。未知なる力への憧れというプリミティブな願望は今も昔も普遍的ですからな。
先生はなれるものなら魔女になりたいですか？思うがままに魔法を使ってみたいという夢を今も？
もちろんですとも。この年になりそういうものが実在しないと理屈では分かっていても、それでもなお空を飛んでみたい、鉄くずを黄金に変えてみたいという子供のような夢は忘れられずにいます。学生たちにはどうか内密に。
私が実は魔女だと言ったらお信じになります？
女は魔女であるというのが私のささやかな女性経験からの持論です。
How to tell someone that you haven't married and without telling them.
And just snorted at the old professor, who must have been an earnest scholar with barely any experience with women.
そうそう。最後にもう一つだけ質問を。先生はメッセージボトルの実物をご覧になったことは？
ありますとも。
では、その筆跡についてもお詳しいですか？
もちろん。その道の専門家ではありませんが、メッセージボトルの筆跡に関してだけは日本で最も詳しいと自負していますとも。
At that point, Angel set a book on the desk with a thud.
これは初めて見るものです。
He prided himself of his thorough knowledge of all literature related to Rakenjima, and he looked bewildered at this binding that he had not seen before. Ignoring him, Angie silently flipped through the pages, opened to one of them, and showed him. On that page was a handwritten paragraph beginning with, "To my beloved witch apprentice." And at the end, there was a signature in katakana that said, Beatrice.
それは...
The instant he glanced at it, his face went pale. She knew the answer before asking, but Angie asked it aloud anyway.
このページに記されている文章の筆跡は、メッセージボトルの筆跡と一致しますか？
いや、持ち帰って詳しく調べないとな。失礼だが、この本は一体どこに？
The man stretched out his hand, but Angie pulled it back, as though telling him to not touch it with his filthy hands.
ありがとう。その反応だけで結構です。今日はありがとうございました。これ、お約束の謝礼です。
As she stood up, clutching Maria's diary, Angie carelessly tossed a wad of 10,000 yen notes wrapped with a strip of paper onto the table. As Angie turned her back to him and made to leave, the man raised his voice as though clinging to her. But Angie didn't stop walking.
お願いだ。
その本は一体。謝礼はいらない。その本を見せてくれ。
私とあなたはウィッチハントの同志だけど、求める深さが違うのだ。
Anjay, kita
あ
gak
なたが
selevel,
楽しんで
bos.
るのは猫箱の外側、そして私が知りたいのは猫箱の内側、そしてこの一冊はその猫箱を開く鍵ね。あなたには過ぎてるわ。じゃあね。グッバイジェントルマン。
Jane.
Have a nice day.
待ってくれ。スマデラさん。
His voice didn't reach her. She had already joined up with Amakusa and gone into the car.
Kok manggilnya Sumadera?
収穫はあり
Mungkin
ました
dipakai
か。
namanya dia harus ada.
Kan dia Ushiromiya Anggi.
Iya, berarti kan nggak masa mau bilang, "Woi, gue Ushiromiya nih." Lu kan nyari Ushiromiya.
最後の最後にね。
Oh.
やっぱりそうだった。メッセージボトルを記したのはベアトリーチェ本人だった。
そいつはクールだ。魔女は実在するで決着で。
さあね。寝ていい？あのおしゃべり教授。きっと講義では自分の世界に入っちゃって寝ちゃう子続出だと思うわ。
どうぞどうぞ、お休みを。
しかしうまくいくもんね。あいつ私のことスマデラだと最後まで信じてたわ。
The Sumadera family had a setup of a web beforehand around any people Angie might try to contact. They had offered a reward to anyone who could take Ushiromiya Angie into custody if she appeared. Angie had foreseen that and had snatched it away. She had called herself Sumadera, and after cleverly tricking the man by saying her own subordinate would set up an ambush, so he didn't need to worry about it, she had taken him outside. So, when the Sumadera family pursuer reached the professor's house, there was no longer anyone there.
家人の話では、午前中にスマデラを名乗る若い男女が訪れ、教授を連れ出したきり、まだ帰宅しないそうです。裏を書かれた可能性が。
Profesor dibawa pakai mobilnya tapi pulangnya disuruh jalan sendiri.
いけない子ね、エンジェちゃんは。あんなに名乗るのは嫌だと言ってたスマデラの名を気安く名乗ってくれちゃうなんて。そしたらソチャでも振る舞わないとね。
は了解しました。
私を手玉に取ったつもりかしら。やんちゃな子なんだから。
In Kyoto, giving people tea is telling them to die or something. With a demonic look on her face, Kasumi violently stamped her heel. Oh. I'll teach you about my magic of origins. No, I taught you before, right? And you used it before. Did you forget? You were also a witch apprentice, Angie, with your name entered into the Mariage Sociale, weren't you? Jangan-jangan ini apa? Yang bawa mobil sekarang itu creation. Furniture. I closed Maria's diary and flopped down on a very high-class looking bed. I'd slept deeply for a long time in the car, so it took longer than usual for drowsiness to set in, and I read the diary as I waited. This was a super expensive hotel in the city. Since it was often used by the rich and the famous, they were very big on confidentiality. That made it very convenient for Angie to escape her pursuers. The idea that renegades should spend their nights hiding in cheap hotels is a commoner's way of thinking. To Angie, who possessed all the wealth of the Ushiromiya family, renegade life was comfortable indeed. Of course, even though he was a guard, Amakusa was a man, and therefore in a separate room. Angie used the bedroom of the suit, and Amakusa lay on the sofa in the living room. According to Amakusa, the sofas here were more pleasant than his own bed had been recently. Gue tuh ketika pulang ke Bali. Poor guy. When I looked at the clock, I saw that it was almost 2 o'clock in the middle of the night. I'm still not getting sleepy. I sighed deeply. At the time, even though there was no wind, I had the feeling that Maria Onechan's diary fluttered. Then, Onechan appeared. Onechan.
Terusnya juga udah berubah.
Her form was no longer the normal one I had known. She was wearing the dress that Beatrice had given her after acknowledging her as a witch.
もう寝ないと明日が辛いよ。
私も魔女なら魔法が使えるのよね。
うん、使えるよ。教えてあげたでしょ、使い方。昔は使えたはずだよ。
覚えてる。使いたくなった。
寂しくなった？
別に。毎日枕が違うくらいのことで辛くなんてならないわ。
魔法の最初の一歩は寂しいからとか退屈だからとか、そのくらいのささやかな理由でいいの。
眠くなるまでの暇つぶしだとしても。
うん、エンジがもう一度魔法のことを思い出してくれて、マリアは嬉しい。
Gabut nih, bikin homunculus ah. It has been quite a long time since I last used magic. At one point, with Maria Onechan's introduction, I touched a corner of it and opened the door a tiny bit. So, I should still remember that sensation.
今のエンジェはかなり魔法の力が衰えてる。基本に忠実じゃないと難しいよ。
うん。四方を確認。静かな空間を確保。
天草さんは？
寝てるわ。
After opening the door to the living room a crack, I could see the blanket caterpillar on the sofa roll over in its sleep.
今のエンジェの弱い魔力では半魔法力の影響を受けすぎる。人の姿だけじゃない。声も音も気配さえもエンジェの魔法の邪魔をする。それらを完璧に立って古代魔術師たちがアトリエを閉ざして孤独を守ったように。
覚えてるわ。人間の存在自体が魔法を妨げる。故に人に魔法を見せるということそのものがとても高位な魔女の証だったわね。
Obtain a quiet space for yourself alone. That should be enough to prepare a space to use magic.
次によりしろ。今のエンジェには自転車の補助輪、いえチェーンくらい大事。
これは当然無理よね。
Angie rubbed her own head. She wore her accessories there with pink gems attached. They felt a little childish for Angie, but she never took them off, not even for a single day.
It will be important later.
今のエンジェにはとても無理。あの日から一日も休むことなく修行していたなら、あるいは今頃は呼び出すことができたかもしれないね。
はあ、今から修行したらどのくらいかかるの？
魔女の修行は幼き日の1年が老いの10年と同じ価値があると言われてる。相当の覚悟がいるよ。
それこそ後ろ宮金蔵くらいに？ピアノもバイオリンも魔法も 幼い頃からの英才教育が大事なのね。
今の園児は初めて魔法を使えた時よりもその力が落ちている。無理をしないで基本に忠実に。
After suddenly rubbing those things on my head one more time, I gave up. Then I started fishing through the knapsack, looking for anything that might make a good vessel.
これなら、よりしろにはぴったりじゃない？
懐かしい。それならば今の園児でも召喚できると思うよ。それには今主がいない。園児が新しい主になるのも可能なはず。
Among the things that looked like a good vessel, I took the one I thought might possess the strongest magical power, and set it on the side table near the bed with a clatter. A water bottle. It was a shady-looking, steak-shaped weapon with an occult design inscribed on it.
It's the fucking steak anjing.
Yang buat ngebunuh.
Oh my.
Ya, beneran anjing. It was one of the 7 steaks of purgatory which the witch used to offer sacrifices. When the police had been searching the family's possession, they had collected a large amount of junk. After the investigation had finished, these had been politely returned to the Ushiromiya family. Finding something that I had seen in the picture of Maria's diary, I took it home with me. Ayun, dia nge-summon sister anjing.
煉獄の七杭はもともと7本で一揃いだった。気の毒にね。今はもう彼女1本だけ。
One-chan smiled, looking lonely. I pulled another book out of the knapsack. This was also old-fashioned, and you could tell that it was an occult book just by looking. But its contents were plain. It was one of Maria One-chan's elaborate notebooks. This wasn't a diary. This was a grimoire, which she had written as a witch. The 7 stakes of purgatory are Beatrice's furniture, created by her and employed only for her sake. But since Beatrice is also a witch of Mariage Sorcière, they could be employed by Maria, a witch of the same alliance. For that reason, the method of summoning of the 7 stakes of purgatory and how to handle them was written about in the great detail in Maria One-chan's grimoire. And as another person with their name registered in that alliance, I was also permitted to employ them.
この杭は7姉妹の誰？
マリアの魔導書に彼女らの特徴がよく記されてるよ。7杭の姉妹は名前を間違えられることをとても嫌う。召喚する前によく彼女らの名前を思い出して。
A packed page told of the 7 stakes of purgatory. It described the 7 sisters in great detail. Yes, I think I memorized almost this entire page once in the past. The more I read it, the more I start to remember. By the pictures and characteristics written on the grimoire, I could tell that the stake in my hand was Mammon's stake. In the past, I hadn't had any stakes, so I summoned them without any vessel. So this was the first time I'd clearly seen any of the 7 stakes, let alone Mammon.
マモン、五女。7つの大罪の強欲を司る。すごい子よね。
強欲は向上心、上昇志向、生きる強さなども司る。決して悪い意味だけではないんだよ。口は悪いけど、とても頑張り屋さんな子だし。
そうね。欲がないってことは、つまり、生きてる理由がないってことだし。
For a while, I heightened my concentration and digested the information that was written about Mammon. The more the summoner know about the target that is being summoned, the better. Knowledge is connected to magical power. I began to fill my head with knowledge about Mammon, raising a necessary amount of magical power for summoning.
魔導書ってちょっとだけ面白いわね。下手くそな小説を読むよりよっぽど面白いかもしれない。
I know,
なんだ
right?
か懐かしい気持ちになるわ。
魔導書は
It really
ただ
does take
文
me
字を
back.
読み取るだけじゃなく、行間から世界を膨らませたり、挿絵から世界を生み出したりと、様々な想像を要求されるの。生み出す力。これを持つエンジェになら、どんな本よりも魔導書は面白いはずだよ。エンジェになら理解できるって、マリアはずっ
Killing
と知
Kid
っ
might
てたも
read a
の。
grimoire later in my pajama party.
マモンの知識、これで十分だと思うわ。うん。だいたい蘇った。やってみる。
しっかりね。いざという時に備えて、私の護符を。今の君は、同盟の条約に守られてない。マモンは少し喧嘩っ早いところがある子。あるいは、まだ恨んでるかも。注意して。
恨んでる。
うん。身につけることにする。
恨んでる。The seven stakes of purgatory, as furniture used to make sacrifices for a ceremony, were treated as beings inferior even to weapons. But that was only when compared to other demons. To humans, furniture is something to be feared. I fished through the knapsack again, took out a bracelet charm with a scorpion medal that I'd gotten from Maria One-chan long ago, and put it on my arm. In the past, I had not needed something like this, but I need insurance.
大丈夫。それには、まだ十分な魔法防御が備わってる。それを身につけている限り、絶対に大丈夫。
Maria One-chan's magic power, which had been specially put into this charm, had been enough to earn even Beatrice's admiration. While it may have looked like something cheap to a human who couldn't understand magic, its magical worth was incalculable.
さあさあ、罪を許しなさい。煉獄の七杭が一つ。強欲のマモン。
I focused my mind. I made the magic repelling toxin that filled my body zero. Parang ada QTE nih. Imagine an untainted vast space. Doubts and common sense all resist magic. Make the resistance zero and erase the burden on the magical power. Inside my head was the image of a vast space. It was a nighttime world where I floated in the air and the neon stars over the ground sparkled. A world where the stars that should have covered the sky were wiped away by the light from below that covered the ground. In a world of a vast night sky with no obstructions, I imagined the wind blowing through at will. At the time, in a room where there shouldn't have been any wind, the free nighttime wind kicked up a cyclone. The long-forgotten sensation raced through my entire body. It was the unique feeling of exultation that comes from using magic. Mammon's stake, which I held out in my hand, gradually began to make me feel a pale light. A twisting cyclone with the stake at the center. The hefty stake floated a bit into the thin air.
見事だよ。ブランクは君から才能を奪わなかったね。
さあさあ、おいで罪を許しなさい。煉獄の七杭が一つ。強欲のマモン、その姿を私に見せなさい。
After I raised my hand bit by bit, lifting them higher than my head, As though it was being attracted upwards, Mammon's stake once again floated up high into the air and gradually began to shake. That shaking begins to grow faster, and it burst. With a speed faster than the eye could follow, it flew around, violently rebounding off the walls of the room. The terrible sound of it dancing around threatened to make me flinch. However, I must not lose my mental concentration. Then, the stake, which had been flying around at incredible speed, finally stopped and faced me. It was in the air, just a few centimeters away from my forehead and held back by the defensive barrier created by the scorpion charm. It had tried to break the defensive barrier, eating into it with an incredible power, but Maria One-chan's barrier wouldn't be broken so easily. The stake muttered hatefully. It was probably safe to say that the scorpion charm saved me. Without that, my attempt at killing time until I got sleepy would have killed my time for all eternity. When Mammon's stake realized that it was unable to gouge me, it gave up. It gave up and grew docile, changing its form, that of a stake, into a human.
We established that yang jadi witch itu si aja yang masa lalu yang sekarang ada di yang sama Butler, yang masa depan harusnya dia tuh orang yang benar-benar pure fact and logic, nggak ada witch itu. Fuck off ini, what about this?
A different path.
Yang mana lagi aja?
Mamon. Kelima pokoknya.
Masanya random ini nggak ngerti ini.
Ini Mamon.
Wait, dialognya beda kah buat yang lain kah? Enggak deh, sama yang lain. Cuma doang yang beda.
In that same old outfit that I'd never be able to walk around outside in. Yeah. Although you could say it suited her in a demonic sort of way.
エンジ様なの？ずいぶんとみすぼらしい魔力だけど、本当にエンジ様？
お久しぶりね、マモ。元気にしてた？
てっきり、もうお役御免の家具は何度で朽ち果てるだけだと思ってました。それで、これはどういう余興で？まさか、私の所有者がエンジ様とでもおっしゃるつもりで？
うん。エンジが君の主人だよ。
マリア卿、これはお見苦しいところ。先ほどの結界は、マリア卿の。
Marianya di caps lock kalau ngomong Maria Witch.
Iya, soalnya Marianya udah.
今のエンジじゃ、ひょっとしたら君にやられてしまうかもしれないって思ったから、お符を貸したの。
マリア卿に、私の主人がエンジ様だと言われたんじゃ、断りようもありません。エンジ様、何なりとご命令を、私が必要とされるということは、新しい儀式を、新しい生贄を、もっとも、私を使いこなし、自らの手を汚す程度の覚悟が終わりならの話ですが。
その役割は、私はもう求めてないわ。昔同様に、ただ話し相手になってくれるだけで十分よ。
I just need a friend, man.
ええ。それがお望みでしたら、家具は、使われてこそ家具。お呼び出しいただいただけで光栄ですとも、エンジ様。
Mamon had a slightly complicated smile on her face. she accepted her new master because Maria had told her to. But it looked like she hadn't gotten over her discontent at working for Angie with her frail magical power. Perhaps she had some other reasons for hating Angie. But for now, it seemed that she couldn't disobey, even if she wasn't happy about it.
それで、私は何をすれば？
わからない。適当に賑やかにしてくれればいいわ。
Jadi jester anjing.
お言葉ですが、多分、エンジ様がおっしゃる賑やかさとは、私たち姉妹の騒ぎのことだと思います。私一人では難しいかと。お忘れで？そうだね。七姉妹は、みんなが揃うと、本当に賑やかだったもんね。でも、今のエンジの魔力じゃ、マモンを呼び出すのが精一杯だと思う。他の6人の杭も紛失してる。恐れながらマリア卿、私の杭を経由し、七姉妹に語りかけ、呼び出すことは不可能ではないかと。私を刺激されるのでしたら、その程度の力は、エンジ様にはお持ちいただきたいところですが。
Amon grinned. Apparently she wanted me to summon the other sister without a vessel. I see. Since she is unable to satisfy herself with being summoned alone, she's asking for the other sister to be summoned as well. I get it. Agreed. Yes, she was like this back then, wasn't she? To furniture, the time during which they are used are bliss. No matter how badly they are exploited, being used in is furniture's joy. On the contrary, regardless of how nice you are to them, not being given a job is more painful than anything in their eyes. Wow, I might be a Kagu man. Mammon spoke in a challenging way, but she wanted me to summon the other sisters somehow and rescue them from the world of nothingness. If that's the case, all she's gotta do is say so. These demon people can never just say what they mean.
エンジ、無理しないで。マモンを呼び出せただけで、リハビリには十分だよ。
あら、一人だけでリハビリになっちゃうの？どうせ暇つぶしよ。いいわ、マモン。乗りかかった船だわ。呼べるところまで呼んであげる。
本当に？さすがエンジ様！さあさあ、早く早く！
Apparently, even though she asked, Mammon hadn't really expected Angie to do this. She hopped around, badgering Angie to summon the other sisters. Summoning Mammon alone consumed a considerable amount of physical and magical power. It will probably be pretty tough to do 6 more. I'm awed by the magical power of those who can summon sisters like this at will with a snap of their fingers. And who therefore reach the level where they can be called witches.
マモン、エンジェに無理をさせないで。エンジェはまだ本調子じゃないから。エンジェ様はみんなを召喚してくれるって言いました？
Actually, I only said I'd call as many as I could. I guess that's great for you.
無理しないで、エンジェ。もう今日は休んだ方がいい。君は十分疲れてるよ。
いいわよ。
Wis manggil bobo ini, fuck off ini.
どうせ暇つぶし。
I know, right?
ばったり寝込めるくらいに疲れさせてもらうわ。
This time, there is no vessel. I'll have to strengthen the image from my knowledge of the grimoire and materialize them with just that. I held my hands out in the air, replaying in my head the sensation for when I summoned Mammon. I'm acquainted with all the 7 sisters, right? I've got to remember that time long ago. When I talked with them. Once again, the power of the magic began to fill me up. It left off a faint and yet distinct pale light from both of my hands.
エンジェ様、しっかりしっかり頑張って。ねえマリア卿、 園児様は必ずみんなを呼び出してくださいますよね。また七姉妹は再会できますよね。
再会
再会メンション。
うん、きっとね。でもそれが今夜という保証はないよ。園児様ならできますって。園児様お願い。末っ子のアスモから。
アスモデウス7条。わかった。末っ子から順番に呼ぶわ。
A strand of hot sweat dripped down from my forehead. This really is gonna be one hell of a burden to carry. Bagus ini OST-nya, pengen ku colong aja. The pale light in this space began to slowly form into the outline of a girl.
さあさあ、おいでな煉獄の七杭が一つ。色欲のアスモデウス。
There was no vessel. However, as I held a strong conviction that she definitely did exist there as a core, her form began to crystallize. Her outline became distinct as the form of the youngest of the seven sisters, Asmodeus, was finally created.
色欲のアスモデウス、ここに。ここはどこ？私は生きてるの？アスモ！よかった。マモン姉さん、ここは一体。私を呼び出したのは誰なの？園児様が私たちをみんな蘇らせてくれるって。
No, I didn't.
園児様、ありがとう。次はベルゼをお願いします。
ベルゼブブ6条。暴食のベルゼブブ。さあさあ、おいでなさい。
At this rate, I wonder how many I'll be able to summon. If I can't focus, this is probably it. The pale light made an outline and formed into Beelzebub.
暴食のベルゼブブ、ここに。ベルゼー！園児様、すごい！
Mammon and Asmodeus jumped into Beelzebub, celebrating their reunion. I'd summoned 3 people at once. My head was throbbing. Gotta summon the next one without stopping for a break.
さあさあ、おいでなさい。煉獄の七杭が一つ。怠惰のベルフェゴール。
怠惰のベルフェゴール、ここに。
ここに。
なんと、私がまだ必要とされると。
ベルフェネー！お腹すいた！じゃなくて、また会えて嬉しい！また七姉妹みんなが再会できるなんて。
再会！
園児様、本当にありがとうございます。この調子で次はサタンネーオ、レビアネーモ、ルシネーモ。
ええ、分かってるわ。だからお願い、あまりうるさくしないで。4人同時は結構きつい。
園児、もうそれ以上無理をしないで。これだけ久しぶりなのによく4人も召喚できたよ。
よせ、ママ。今の園児様には我らの召喚は負担を強いている。園児様、どうかご無理をなされませんよ。
私は嫌！園児様は約束したもん。また私たちみんなと遊んでくれるって。ねえ、園児様、みんなとまた会えるって、すぐに会えるって約束した。
そうね、約束したわ。すぐにがいつのこととは約束しなかったけど。
だから守って！じゃないと私は今日までそれを忘れていた園児様を許さない。
さあさあ、 恋煉獄の七杭の一つ、憤怒のサタン。
My mind's getting hazy, but I'll call. Even though I'd forgotten about those days. Even though I've never thought of that time as anything but sad and lonely. Because the short time I spent with them was fun without a doubt.
憤怒のサタン、ここに。
何やってるのよ、あんたたち。私たちが井戸端会議をするだけでどれだけエンジェ様に負担をかけてるか分かってんの？
Satan, who had apparently figured out the situation immediately after being summoned, cried out in a loud voice, telling her sister off. That loud voice made my consciousness hazy again.
私たちはベアトリーチェ様より休むことを許された役目を終えた家具なのよ。再びお役に立てる機会を賜るどころか、新しい主人の負担になるなんて、そんなの家具の直れ。早く姿を消しなさい。
Erase yourself
スタ
now!
ンネーの言う通りだ。姿を消す。お前たちも姿を消せ。それがこの瞬間、一番エンジェ様のお役に立てる。
私は嫌よ。みんなを呼び出してもらえるまでは嫌。私も嫌。お腹すいた。じゃなくて、やっと再会したばかりなのに、もう帰るなんて嫌。
わがまま言ってんじゃないわよ。ほら、とっとと姿を消す。ほら、アスもさっさと消えなさい。
サタン姉さんがいじめた。いつも末っ子からなんてずるい。
実に賑やかに退屈しない。
もう十分だよ。今のエンジェには限界を超えてる。
そうね。
With 5 of them summoned and messing around as they pleased, the load was far too heavy for me with the meager magical power I had at the moment. This is it. As my consciousness went hazy, I fell over onto the bed.
Besok si siapa si cowoknya bangun oh waduh ada 5 orang
Ada 5. Have beds always felt this soft? Yeah, I want that feeling. I think. It seemed that the sisters were still squabbling together as much as they liked. For a way to kill time until drowsiness comes to get me. This is enough. Feeling something warm and nostalgic in the sisters' liveliness, I sank into the world of deep sleep. At the entrance of my dream world, I felt Marione-chan and Sakataro waiting to receive me.
お疲れ様。そして頑張ったね。ウリュウ、おかえり。
ウリュウ。
エンジェ。
Okaeri, huh? Then I should respond like this. Tadaima. Nggak pecah. Nggak pecah
kalau,
ya.
kalau beneran sih siapa sih I don't know siapa namanya si cowok waduh ini 5 orang lain lagi sih
Amakusa
yeah.
Amakusa kaget I think. Kaget. That's right. Just once in the past, I underwent training in order to step into the world of witches. I accepted that the only power that could save me from those sad, painful days at St. Lucia Academy was a thing called magic, and I received Maria's introduction to the basics.
広大な空間を峠のドライブインから麓を見下ろした時の風景。こう
I projected the scene from a memory into my mental world. Normal girls get over their fascination with magical girls when they leave elementary school. So, seriously training to use magic at this age was embarrassing even for me. But even that embarrassed feeling felt pleasant to me now. Right then, I was learning mental concentration from Maria One-chan in order to use magic. But it wasn't going very well. It was about as hopeless as teaching a person to wiggle their ears by showing them. It seems that you need to imagine a vast space to gain the mental concentration for using magic. So, I remembered the time from my younger days when my family had gone on a small vacation. When I had looked down towards the base from a viewing platform at the rest stop on a peak. The peak dia itu. And I tried painting the scene in my mental world.
まだまだ狭い。もっともっと広い空間をイメージして。そして、エンジェだけの心象世界を作り上げるの。まだまだイメージが霞んでる。空気に温度もないし、風もない。匂いもない。まだまだ世界が希薄。それらは後でもいいから、今はとにかくもっと広い世界をイメージして。
ウリュウ、どうして広い空間のイメージが必要なの？
人間の体内には生まれながらにして魔法を妨げる毒素があるんだよ。その毒素を浄化しないと魔法はうまく使えないの。そのために有効な方法の一つが広大な空間をイメージすることなんだよ。
さっきは飛行機の窓から見た世界を思い描いたけど、それもダメだったわ。もっと広大な世界なんて見当もつかない。
ならマリアの持つ広大な世界をエンジェにも教えてあげればいいよ。そしたらエンジェにもイメージがしやすくなるんじゃない？ウリュウ。
そうね。私もお姉ちゃんはどんな世界をイメージして魔法を使ってるのか、私もそれを参考にする。
ダメだよ。心象世界は広大で、そして孤独じゃないといけないの。自分以外に一切遮るものがない世界。だから、その世界を人に教えたら、その世界は孤独ではなくなってしまう。だから、心象世界は誰にも明かしちゃダメなの。だからエンジェも上手に心象世界を描けたら、それは自分だけの秘密の世界にするんだよ。
ウリュウ、マリアケチンボ。
ありがとう、サク太郎。修行に近道なしってわけだわ。努力してみる。大丈夫。ヒントは十分もらえてるわ。
ウリュウ、エンジェ、頑張れ。
Until recently, I thought there was no way something like magic could save me. After all, magic doesn't exist in this world. That kind of thing supposedly nothing more than illusion, a delusion, a daydream. However, Maria One-chan showed me that she could fill her own world with happiness using a power that is impossible for me. I used to look down on that happiness as something empty. Because I didn't believe in magic, I also denied everything else, refusing to believe in the happiness that magic gave birth to. But slowly, bit by bit, Maria One-chan's world grew happier. In the past, I disparaged it, thinking it too pitiful to look at. But that might have been nothing more than jealousy. I was forced to admit that. And now, this was my first step in my search for happiness. A vast space. A dry wind that could blow without being blocked by anything. Let me feel that wind blowing through my own hair. I see. Even the ground might get in my way as I am now. Then I don't need a ground. Brush the ground away, downwards, downwards, and downwards. In other words, it was as though I had floated up, leaving the ground far behind. After pushing the ground further and further downwards, the ground grew foggy and faint, and for the first time, it began to feel like the sky. Then I understood its vastness. In that instant, I felt the vivid wind go right through even my body. In other words, blowing through me without any resistance.
そう、その感覚を維持して。
ええ、わかる。すべての妨げから解放されてるのがわかる。
やったエンジェ、やったエンジェ、魔女の世界への最初の第一歩を踏み出した。
これが魔女の世界。
うん。じゃあエンジェがずっと望んできた魔法を練習してみよう。お友達を呼び出す魔法。エンジェを寂しさから救い出してくれる味方を作り、それによって幸せになる魔法を。
エンジェにも僕みたいなお友達が呼び出せるの？うりゅうりゅう
今のエンジェにはゼロの海からサクタロほどの友達を呼び出すにはまだまだ早いね。最初は呼び出しやすい友達から練習しよう。は
あ、最初は何を？
エンジェはマリアージュ・ソルシエールの魔女だから、同盟の魔女が刺激する存在はエンジェもまた刺激することが許されてる。例えばサクタロは私の友達だけど、同じ同盟のエンジェにとっても今度試しにサクタロを呼び出してみて。寂しくて辛い時、サクタロがきっと元気づけてくれるよ。
I see. You could call Sakataro a being employed by Ane-chan. So, as witch in the same alliance as her, it is possible for me to summon Sakataro too. I met Sakataro's gaze. How pleasant it would be to have him just be there by my pillow. So he could talk to me a bit on lonely nights.
私が呼びかけたら、あなたは現れて、話し相手になってくれる？
うりゅう、エンジェが呼び出してくれるのを楽しみにしてる。うりゅうりゅうりゅう。
Would you? Looking happy, Sakataro pressed his head against me like a cat. Suddenly getting a cute younger brother felt a bit confusing, a bit embarrassing, and a bit nice. Unable to understand why I couldn't honestly accept this feeling, I felt tears well up in my eyes.
お姉ちゃん、私頑張るわ。
じゃあ練習をしてみよう。同じ同盟の魔女ベアトリーチェの家具を呼び出してみよう。
ベアトリーチェの家具。
Hearing Beatrice's name gave me a slightly strange feeling. When it came to the crime on Rakenjima, the public kept going on in a frenzy about how it was a sacrifice ceremony performed by a witch. And that witch was Beatrice. So, if the witch did commit that crime, that would make her the culprit who stole my family from me. However, Maria Oni-chan said that Beatrice was a good witch. If I held negative emotion towards Beatrice, she would get mad, leading to a nasty fight and refuse to talk for a while. At this moment, One-chan was my only close friend. So to avoid worsening her mood, I decided to think of Beatrice as nothing more than One-chan's magic teacher. Also, I believe that the crime was a conspiracy cooked up by If I cooked up, I would definitely expose the truth about that someday.
エンジェ、また体内に妨げが混じってるよ。
ごめんなさい。集中を書いたわ。もう一度。
I'd expect no less from you, One-chan. You instantly noticed that I was being overcome with idle thoughts. After shaking my head just once, I reimagined the wind blowing through a vast space.
煉獄の七姉妹。なんだか物騒な名前ね。
でも、とっても賑やかで楽しい子たちだよ。エンジェの新しいお友達になってくれるかもしれない。まずは、私が呼び出してみせるね。見てて。
Maria One-chan lifted both hands up to the level of her head and quietly unified her mind. The state I wasn't able to reach except by meditating for a long period of time, she reached in the span of a few quick breaths. Then a pale light began to gather in her palms, and one by one the girls began to show themselves. 1, 2, 3 people. 4, 5, 6, 7 people. The way they were summoned, one after another in a line, was a masterpiece. Incredible. Just like the illustration in One-chan's grimoire, the 7 sisters of Purgatory. The younger sister was behind the eldest, Lucifer, who saluted One-chan.
煉獄の七姉妹、ここに、マリア卿、
ここに。
ご無沙汰を申し上げております。
久しぶりだね。みんなも元気？
我ら家具は、刺激されてこそ家具。久しぶりのお呼び出しを、心より光栄に思います。
サク太郎、お久しぶり。相変わらず美味しいじゃなかった。かわいい。私が一番。今日もふかふかプニプニしててかわいい。
プニプニ。
私にも抱かせて、私にも抱かせて。ウリュウ苦しい。僕は逃げないから離してみんな。
こら、あんたたち！マリア卿の家具を壊す気？とにかく離れなさいよ。抱きしめるの禁止。
そう言ってるサタン姉が一番抱きしめたがってるよ。
私は別にあんなふかふかのプニプニのワフワフなんて。こらマリア卿とエンジェ様の御前よ。静かになさい、この愚昧ども。
They were so energetic. I was shocked by their sudden burst of activity right after they appeared. And on top of that, I was surprised that the innocent Sakutaro was on such good terms with the 7 sisters.
意外。サク太郎があんな物騒な連中にこんなに可愛がられてるなんて。
同じ同盟の仲間たちだもん。怖くなんかないよ。
でも万が一彼女らの機嫌を損ねちゃったら、サク太郎あっという間にやられちゃいそう。
大丈夫。同盟の魔女とその家具はみんな仲良しなの。だからサク太郎も安心して遊べるの。それはもちろん私やエンジェも同じだよ。
It was one of the pacts of mariage sorcière. Mutual non-aggression and non-interference. Member witches must respect each other's magic and creation. Even the sisters who were normally shady and belligerent treated fellow alliance members as friends. So, to the 7 sisters, Sakutaro was a mutual friend. He was loved by all of them, and they were even trying to steal him away from each other. This scene as they squeezed him and loved him was a bit charming. I will not be fooled again.
マリアージュ・ソルシエルの仲間同士なのね。
At a glance, you would think that Sakutaro's casual atmosphere and the 7 sisters' shady one would be like water and oil. It looked like they definitely wouldn't be compatible, and yet they were interacting in a friendly way like it was completely natural. If this wonderful alliance could join all the people of the world together, I wonder if everyone in the world would be able to become friends right away.
七姉妹のみんな聞いて。今エンジェは魔法の修行中なの。 だからみんなの力を貸してほしいの。
かしこまりました、マリア卿。しかし具体的には何を？
It's just a nice family.
君たちを権限させる魔力を私からエンジェに移す。
I want to family bond with the Seven Sisters too, man.
その状態でいつも彼女の身近にいてあげてほしいの。彼女の話し相手になったりしてあげるだけでいい。
恐れながらエンジェ様の魔力では私たち7姉妹すべてを四六時中呼び出し続けるのは容易なことではないかと。
The older sister Lucifer gazed at my complexion as she advised this, speaking reservedly. In other words, she was saying that the burden might be heavy for me at this point of time.
そういう修行なの。エンジェはみんなが想像しているより才能と魔力があるよ。ちょっぴり辛いかなとは思うけど、今のエンジェなら挑戦する価値はあると思う。エンジェ、今から彼女たちを権限させる魔力を君に切り替える。つまりエンジェが呼び出したのと同じ状態になるの。
So what Maria Onechan was trying to say was something like this. To keep the Seven Sisters materialized, you are continuously burdened with a significant amount of magical power. Maybe you could say like it was training while wearing a weighted wristband.
ウリュウ、7姉妹全員はかなり大変。エンジェ、いきなりは厳しくない？
ありがとう、サク太郎。でも魔女になるための修行だしね。やれるところまでやってみるわ。
Seven of them certainly do seem boisterous. But even if this is for training, having them with me will surely distract me from my loneliness at least a little. I understood it would be an ordeal, but wanted to give it a shot.
もしも辛かったら無理をしないでね。みんなもエンジェが辛そうだったら加減してあげて。
かしこまりました。わかったね、あんたたち。はい、お姉様。それではエンジェ様、これより我ら煉獄の7姉妹はエンジェ様の家具となります。マリア卿、お願いいたします。
leave me
じゃあ
alone.
エンジェ、始めてもいい？
いいわ。ちょっと緊張する。
ウリュウ、いきなりは辛いかも。頭痛になりそうだったらすぐに魔力を減らしてね。
じゃあ魔力ソースをエンジェに移すよ。
In an instant, the inside of my head felt very heavy. This is... yeah, it's tough. Until then, the inside of my head had only been used for myself. It was almost like it was now being used by for 7 other people. If they just stood there and blinked once or let out a single sigh, that would put a strong pressure on my head.
マリア卿、恐れながらやはり一度に7姉妹全員の負荷は重すぎるかと。
大丈夫。
やっぱりダメかな。権限に全勢力を使っちゃってる。日常生活と両立できないほどの負荷じゃ意味がない。何しろ魔女としてこれじゃちょっと優雅じゃないね。
ウリュウ、だからいきなりこんなに大勢は無理だって言った。みんな少し姿を消してあげて。
そうね、人数を減らした方が良さそう。アスモ、姿を消しなさい。
Asmo, kill yourself.
また私？末っ子いじめ反対。たまには上から消えてよ。
それじゃあ私が2番目に消えなきゃならないじゃない。
やだやだや
アスマもレビアネーも騒がないの。そういう騒ぎが余計エンジェ様の負担になるのよ。
あんたが騒ぐのも負担になるのよ、バカサタン。
The seven sisters started arguing over who should erase themselves first. The energy from that fight all became a burden, forcing Angie to bear an even greater headache. Yeah. In the end, they decided the order with rock, paper, scissors, and 1, 2, 3 of them disappeared. But even at that level, Angie was still far from comfortable. In the end, once 6 of them had erased themselves, I was finally able to calm my breathing. With my magical power, forget the 7 sisters. Just one person is my limit. Which is siapa yang hidup sendiri? Maman.
これじゃあ7姉妹じゃなくて、私一人じゃないですか。エンジ様、ちょっと頼りないです。
Mammon, who had won all of the rock, paper, and scissors matches, was permitted to remain until the end, grumbled.
ウリュウ、マモン、そんなこと言っちゃダメ。エンジェはまだまだ修行中。大丈夫、エンジェ。頭痛、大丈夫？
Sakutaro stretched up on his tiptoes, trying to pat Angie's head. Watching this, Maria scratched her head, acknowledging that this sudden training had been too difficult.
ちょっと荒行すぎたかな。マリア、これくらいなら全然平気だけど、友達いっぱいいればいるほど楽しいし。
お姉ちゃんの凄さを改めて思い知るわ。
Apparently, when one reaches Maria Onechan's class, one can summon enough people to perform in an orchestra, for which apprentice that is awe-inspiring.
大丈夫ですか？エンジ様。
ごめんなさいね。私にはあなた一人を呼び出すのがやっとみたい。
まあ、私はこれでもいいかな。だって7姉妹で私だけがエンジ様の家具を独り占めだし。いかがですか、エンジ様。私一人なら不可にはなりませんか？
ええ、あなた一人ならなんとかね。
よかったー。ならいっぱい修行していっぱい魔力を養ってください。そしていつかきっと7姉妹で揃ってお仕えさせてください。約束ですよ。
After confirming that, for the time being, her own materialization wasn't causing any issue, Mammon immediately became cheery again and tried to make me promise to work harder. I see. That definitely fits with her being greed. But maybe you could also call it having a positive attitude.
ええ、約束するわ。そのくらいはいつかできなくちゃね。
ありがとう、エンジ様。この強欲のマモン、その日まで必ずエンジ様にお仕えします。
My headache finally abated and I relaxed both hands, which had been clutching at my head. Then Mammon stuck out her hand, helping me stand back up.
ウリュウ。あ、マリア、エンジ、もうこんな時間だよ。もう部屋に戻らないと叱られる。
I hadn't expected Sakutaro to talk about the time. I was brought back into reality. Look! As though the light had disappeared, the vast world sunk into the darkness. And I was in a tiny, tiny bathroom stall, sitting on a toilet. Onechan's grimoire was open on my lap. I looked at the clock. It was almost 8 o'clock in the night. Time for lights out. If I show up late for the roll call before lights out, not only will things get pretty annoying, but it will cause trouble for my roommates and floormates. Couldn't care less about causing them trouble, but I don't want them messing with me later. My free time by myself is already over for today. I'll sleep, wake up, tomorrow will begin, and another long, long grey-colored day will repeat again. I closed the grimoire and rose from the toilet seat. At the time, One-chan appeared again and spoke.
ほら、エンジェ、修行を忘れてるよ。マモンを連れて行って。
I'd forgotten. The moment I'd returned to reality, Mammon's materialization had stopped. One more time, I created a strong image of the existence of Mammon in my mind.
もう、エンジ様ったらひどいです。いきなり私を消すなんて。そんなんじゃ、7姉妹を全員呼ぶなんて、なかなかできませんよ。
ごめんなさい。うっかりしてたわ。
人間界に権限するのはすごい久しぶりなので、何から何まで興味深いです。ちょっぴりワクワクしてます。ここはどこですか？
聖ルチーア学園の寮。ここはその共用トイレの個室。各部屋にトイレはあるから、ここには誰も来ない。静かで、本を読むにはちょうどいいの。
ここの寮は本を読むにも、トイレの個室に隠れなきゃならないの？文書でもやってるんですか？
I have a two-person room, so my roommate is always there. Our relationship is gloomy, and it feels like I'm always getting ignored. The atmosphere is bad, so I can't really relax there. And as long as I'm not there, she can do what she likes. Call her friend over and chat away. It's more convenient for them too, if I don't return until just before lights out. There's also a library, but there's a group that uses it as a meeting place, and they're always talking behind my back. So I don't like to go there. During lunch, it's the bushes behind the school building. During the night, it's the stall in the shared bathroom in the dorms. Those are the only hideaways where I can find peace. Peace. I opened the door to the stall and went out. I turned around, signaling with my eyes for Mammon to come with me.
よくわからないけれど、エンジ様にとってとても快適とは言い難い場所だってことが分かったわ。早く表に出ましょう。ここの空気、嫌い。
そう？ここの空気が一番まともなんだけどね。
When I left the bathroom and entered the corridor, because it was near lights out time, several kids who had gone to play in other rooms were dashing back to their own. And they saw Mammon. When it came time for lights out, we had to change into uniform pajamas that we hated and called prison clothes. Line up in the hallway and go through the dorm leader's roll call. On the off chance that someone was late, we would take collective responsibility, and all of the floormates would have to undergo punishment in the form of volunteer work. As long as I avoided this, the girl would look at me coldly, but they wouldn't get in my way. That alone was enough for me. Mammon looked at the passing kids and the furnishing of the dorm with interest. Without paying her any particular attention, I hurried back to my room, so no one can see Mammon. In front of my room was my roommate, who had already changed into her prison clothes, chatting with some kid from the room next door, boy next door. When they noticed me hurrying back, the topic of their conversation noticeably changed. They lowered their voices, stealing glances at me. I acted like I didn't notice, went to my room and changed. Then I hastily went out into the corridor. Everyone was already lined up.
何これ？おかしい。ここってお嬢様学校じゃないの？刑務所みたい。バカみたい。
やっぱりそうよね。
バカみたい。
私もそう思ってるわ。刑務所よりさらに厳しい点は、素行が良くても刑期が短くならない点かしら。
After bad-mouthing the place, I noticed something. Having someone to listen to your complaints feels surprisingly good. Fortunately, Mamon's form can only be seen by her summoner, me. And of course, there was no need to speak out loud for this conversation. All I had to do was speak inside my mind so no one could listen in. Magic and the friends it creates might actually not be so bad.
こいつら揃いも揃ってもやしみたい。生きてないって感じ。
やめなさいよ。毎日姿を見られたら大変よ。
夢も希望もかけらほどもない人間なんてハンマ法の塊だもの。私の姿なんて絶対に見えるわけがない。見ることもできない下等生物どもが。
あなたはそのハンマ法の毒素を持つ人間たちがこれほどいる中でも平気なの？
エンジェ様が私を権限させてくださる限りは平気です。ただ私を権限するために常に集中しなければならないでしょうから。ほら、同室の子に呼ばれてません？
後ろ宮さん、聞こえてる？来週からの終盤なんだけどさ、ちょっと相談があって。
He's probably trying to push a few more chores into me. My roommate, who never even looked me in the eye normally, was smiling at me unpleasantly. But it'll be duty push into me alone, rather than doing it together with her. That's the small price to pay to have her continue to ignore me non-stop. Even so, with a completely shameless excuse, she sidestepped the issue for some reason and insisted on flipping the situation around, as though I should have come forward and done it of my own initiative. One of the special traits of this academy is that it's full of girls who don't know how to ask a favor. Wait.
Oh, nggak ada suara ya?
Nggak ada suara.
Iya.
Ya kan? That kid! She pisses me off. I'd love to just gouge her right in the forehead.
Right.
Ya.
Nggak ada suara.
Bahkan suara BGM-nya hilang gitu loh. Nggak ada suara klik-kliknya juga.
Oh iya.
Ya.
Let's try.
Save dulu. Before we do anything.
Ya, oke, coba relaunch game, Mas.
Lagi dikit kita main rusak dia, jir. Kita abis main langsung nonton Harry Potter kan?
Surely ada waktu. Emang sesinya mulai jam berapa?
Jam 8.
Kita saya jam 5. 3 jam.
Enggak, 2 jam setengah.
Assuming pada mau langsung nonton jam 5. Coba tanyain dulu. Jam 5-an kalau nonton Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Kita harusnya bikin show namanya Movie Monday, bro. It's where they see us react to a movie and that's it. Okay. Mereka duduk.
何この子。ムカつく。眉間に思いっきり私の杭をねじ込んでやりたい。
そうね。ぜひ今度お願いするわ。
Oh, gue belum sinkron lagi makanya gue
belum.
Gue belum nggak lanjut ngomong habis.
Mana anjir. Yeah. Having a friend nearby all the time to complain to makes me happier than I thought it would. It really was lively with all the 7 sisters gathered together. I know, right? Kind of want a friend now. I'm sure just watching them mess around will be a lot of fun.
I have this. It's called my other self. I speak to myself in my mind. You don't have this, no?
I have too much of them. But I can't do pajama party with them if all of them are inside my body. I need them to be on my dolls or something.
Aduh.
Aku mau bikin itu fragments of my soul on the dolls. I want to gain enough magical power to summon all the 7 sisters at once and soon. So I'll train much, much more. And finally summon the thing I really want to find. My sister.
エンジ様が本当に召喚したいものって何ですか？
Mama noticed my conversation with myself inside of my head and asked about it blankly. I hesitated to talk about it, but then figured that there was no reason to hide it and told her.
家族よ。お父さん、お母さん、お兄ちゃん。
それってつまり死者の魂？異界の住人を呼び出すのは召喚だけど、死者の魂を呼び戻すのは反言で、それは全くの別物。
蘇る。
かなりの大魔法のはずですよ。
I know. So much so that even Maria One-chan can't do it at all. But that's the thing I want to find with magic the most. I've been warned that it's very difficult, high-level magic. So great that in the worst-case scenario, I might not necessarily reach that point even after training for my whole life. Jadi Ginzo dia. Furthermore, I have no vessel.
Just create a homunculus. What's so hard?
A vessel is vital for making magic succeed, whether it is summoning or resurrection. Because I don't have that, a magic that would already have been difficult is now hopeless. Limbus Company reference. That's right. I have nothing to remember Dad or Mom by. However, by an extraordinary coincidence, I do have something to remember just Oni-chan by. And that is this.
そのピンクの玉の頭飾り？何それ？言っちゃ悪いけど、エンジェ様にはちょっと安物っぽい。
昔、お父さんに内緒で、お母さんと一緒にお兄ちゃんに会って、遊園地に遊びに行ったことがあるの。そこのクレーンゲームの景品。
I know it's cheap. I realize it doesn't match my style, and I get that it's too childish. But this hair accessory is the only thing that makes me feel as though Batara Oni-chan is by my side. What the fuck? I thought there was a hospital, dog. The glass case had been filled with plastic capsules packed with fun-looking things. Oh my god, the horrors of gacha. It seemed that each capsule had some cute accessory in it. The game was to grab those with the crane, but I was young. It was hard for me. Tried it several times, but I didn't even get close. Mom said that whatever was inside was probably cheap anyway, and we didn't even know what we would get. So there was no point in getting all upset over it. But whether it was something cheap or not wasn't the problem. The process of grabbing happiness with my own hand felt really important and sacred to me. Oh yeah, I forgot to play
the process of gambling with my own hands.
Gambling with my own hands, yep. So, I wanted the cheap thing inside more than anything. Then, Batara Oni-chan came over after finishing the game of shooting soldiers with a gun. Lihat Mira! Enji waktu kecil! And tried to do it for me. With his arms that were longer than mine, Oni-chan grasped the happiness that I couldn't reach. Oni-chan really was coordinated. It seems he often played with his friends at the arcades. And after only 1 or 2 attempts, he grasped that thing on the other side of the glass with the crane that I hadn't even been able to touch, and threw it into the exit chute. Krota, krota, krota. When Oni-chan tossed me the capsule, I remember that he looked very, very reliable. For several days, I feel like opening the capsule would be a waste. Wah, ini gua banget anjing.
Tolol banget anjing.
Fuck. But then, one day, I finally opened it up. What revealed itself inside was this pink jeweled hair accessory.
Hypothetically speaking, kalau lo ketemu, oh ada gachapon Artman, udah lo gak bakal buka gachaponnya.
Gue beli, I wanna have it, but I'm not gonna open it.
What the
Po, I do it for food, Po. Aku pernah beli es krim. I put it di kulkas. Terus on the days it was hot, I would go to the refrigerator, open it, saw that I have an ice cream, smile, close it again. I like the concept of me having things. I know that is psychotic, but I don't know what's wrong with my head, okay? I just like having things. I do it all the time, man.
I think there's something wrong with it.
I think there is something wrong with my head, but I'm happy about it. Just like Maria, man. The truth is that I am happy whether you see me happy or not. Gitu pun. Since that day, it's been a symbol for Oni-chan. Since I was young, I felt that having all four of us gathered, including Batara Oni-chan, was a precondition for a happy family. So I wanted Oni-chan and Dad to make up quickly. In my own way, I treated this hair accessory as a charm for bringing my whole family together. So I always used to wear it.
Even after they die.
I wanted to feel my reliable, fun, and wonderful Oni-chan by my side all the time. I'll do that to you, Po. What if?
What the fuck? I will be a ghost and I will took it from you and fucking bury it somewhere.
If you die, I will preserve your thing yun. I will preserve your thing yun statue, Po. I'll remember all the times we had when we were playing VN Saturday every time I see
I will
you.
request for my family to put it on top of my grave.
I'll dig it.
お兄ちゃんの記憶はあまりに遠い。マリアお姉ちゃんがライオンのぬいぐるみからサクタラを生み出したようには簡単にできない。私は死者の魂を蘇らせる大魔法をいつか必ず身につける。そしてそれを成功させられる唯一の鍵が、よりしろがこれなの。
なるほど。その頭飾りにものすごい魔力を感じてたけど、そういうわけなのね。
魔力？お兄ちゃんのこれに魔力が宿ってるの？
エンジ様が宿らせている。というエンジ様の兄を呼び出したいという強い思いが魔力を与えている。確かに反言は大魔法だけど、エンジ様はその魔法のために無意識のうちに着実に階段を登っているのは間違いない。
嬉しいわ。私以外の人にそれを認めてもらえるのは。
Your own effort isn't something you can observe by yourself.
I can see it. I don't give any effort.
I can't see it, bro. In that sense, even though these words came from a shady demon girl who controls one of the 7 deadly sins, they made me very happy.
反言の魔法に至るのと寿命を全うするのとどっちが早いかだけは、でも挑む山の高さが高ければ高いほど、エンジ様はくじけることがなかったなら、きっといつか私たちの元の主、
If only Mammon looked like that, man. I'll summon him every day. And this kind? Holy shit, bro.
大魔女になってお兄ちゃんを。
Without telling me to kill other people and
家族
everything.
を蘇らせることができるかしら。
反言の魔女、演者教。素敵！反言の魔女は かなりレアな魔女です。そんな魔女がご主人様なんて、ちょっと鼻が高いです。っていうか、むしろそうなってほしいものです。家具の価値も、主の格に比例しますので。もうベアトリーチェ様さえ抜いちゃって、天下無双の大魔女になってくださいね。煉獄の七姉妹を代表して、心より応援申し上げます。
Yeah! I thought that if a magical friend were to appear for me too, a cute kid like Sakutaro would be the best. But even this fifth sister of the shady seven sisters who controlled the seven deadly sins was enough to calm my heart so much all by herself. Maria One-chan was probably known that since long ago. That's why she recommended the World of Witches to me over and over again. And I kept on stubbornly rejecting her. Should have given in and started my training as a witch sooner. A year for a child is worth 10 years for an old person, right? Now I find my past self, which only ever complained, deplorable for wasting my precious time. Long after I turned off the light and slipped to my bed, Amon continued to talk to me alongside my pillow too. See, I want that. I promise. One day for sure, I'll develop a magical power that can summon the seven sisters. I'll let them have a lively and fun time. The seven of them make a single whole. None can be left out. Family must be together. I must bring them together.
So when are we going back to Rocketeer?
We're not going back to
Okay.
My awareness began to return slowly. Unable to stand watching Aunt Rosa and Maria One-chan's relationship, I ran away from Beato and Oni-chan's game, didn't I? Gotta go back. Gotta go back. I've gotta go back, support Oni-chan, and quickly bring him back from this strange world of the witch's game. After all, as long as I'm here, I'm not allowed to call myself Angie. At the time, I felt someone's presence. Beatrice. Oh, Mammon! When I turned around, I could see Mammon there.
グレーテル様、そろそろお戻りになられないと、ゲームの進行に差し支えると、速やか
ini
にお戻り
bukan
になられ
timeline
ま
di
すよう
mana
に
mereka jadi
お願い申し
Nakayoshi
上げます。
Nakayoshi.
ありがとう。もう戻るわ。
よかったじゃないですか。
何が？
バトラお兄ちゃんに出会えて。
皮肉？
そう聞こえるなら、そういうことにしてもらってもいいですけど。
ごめんなさい。言葉通りに受け取るべきね。ええ、そうよ。こんなおかしな世界であっても、お兄ちゃんに出会えて、心底に嬉しいわ。
そして、お兄ちゃんのために、ベアトリーチ様に打ち勝つ？
ええ、いつまでもこんな世界で遊ばれてちゃ困るもの。そろそろお家へ帰る時間なのよ。だから私が呼びに来たわ。
せいぜい頑張ってください。私、今の主は、ベアトリーチ様ですので、応援はできません。
知ってるわ。1986年10月5日までは、あなたはベアトリーチェの家具よ。
Something they experience all the time simultaneously.
そしてやがては、私の友人になるわ。
そしてやがては、その友人を捨てるわけですが、何しろ。
Mammon moaned as if she'd bit her tongue, staggering as she clutched her chest. Apparently the rules apply to people other than me as well.
大丈夫？それ、結構辛いわよ。
失礼しました。
What the fuck?
グレーテル様。
いいえ。
What did she do, bro?
嬉しいわ。お兄ちゃんに出会えて。あなたの最初の問いへの答えよ。 じゃあ、戻りましょう。私があまりぐずると、あなたが今の主人に怒られるわ。
はい。ご理解いただけて助かります。それではこっち。
マモン？
I'm sure Mammon was about to say, well then, this way. But then she stopped, as though the film had been torn off at that point. It looked like she suddenly frozen. Then I noticed. She wasn't the only thing that had frozen. Even the air and floating bits of dust had frozen in place in empty space. A world where it seemed even time had frozen. Yes, it looks like a portent that burnt castle will appear. But the atmosphere was different somehow. Then I understood. It wasn't Burn Castle. It was the other witch.
調子はどうかしら、エンジ。
エンジ。
ラムダデルタ、あなたにはルールの適用はないのね。
当たり前でしょ。ルールは他人を縛るためにあるのよ。自分をそれで縛るバカはいないわ。
Burn Castle is a witch who supports me, but this girl is different. This witch supports Beatrice. In other words, she's a being on the opposing side. But there's some kind of difference between her and Beatrice. Even compared to Burn Castle, there's something strange about Lambda Delta's existence. It is, how should I put it? Maybe like she's being from a higher dimension. In any event, I was still unsure about how to deal with her. The only thing that was certain that she was my enemy. No, just knowing that might be enough, but...
それで、私に何かご用？
まあね、あなたたちの会話に耳を傾けてたら、ちょっと面白い話になったんでね。あなたにちょっといい話を聞かせてあげようと思って。
あなたは私の敵のはず。そのあなたが私に得する話を聞かせる理由が思いつかないわ。つまり、耳を傾けた時点で負けということだわ。じゃあね、See you next time。
誤解しないで。私の相手はベルンであってあなたじゃないわ。つまり、私とあなたが共に得をする話はあり得るということよ。
悪いけど、私には聞く気がないわ。
Although I said that, I probably won't be released from this frozen time until Lambda Delta is satisfied. This itself might be proof that she is in a higher dimension than me. I haven't been given the option of not listening to her. All I can do is try not to be shaken by anything she says and strengthen my mental guard. She'll probably try to make me believe something disadvantageous to me, threatening me.
そんなに身構えなくてもいいってば。私はあなたの誤解を解きに来ただけよ。いえ、ちょっと違う。ベルンカステルがあなたについた嘘を教えてあげようと思ってやってきたのよ。
ベルンカステルが嘘？
あなたはベルンにベアトを倒せば兄が帰ってくるような、そんな言い方をされたんじゃないの？
さあ、あなたに話す気はないけど。
My brother is coming home. I hadn't been promised anything that dreamlike. Getting just one person only, if I was lucky, had been a promise without very high hopes. But that's enough for me. After being promised an eternity of isolation, having a faint but still non-zero chance was like a shining beacon.
ある意味ベルンのその約束は嘘ではないわ。ベルンがそう約束したのならきっと、あなたがベアトを倒せば、バトラも両親も解放されて、あなたのところへ帰ってくる。
何の問題もないじゃない。
本気で？あの子は案外残酷よね。分かってて騙すなんて。
私がどう騙されてるというの？
Damn. I'm letting her take the initiative. But I won't be released until I lend an ear to her. So it's something that I'll have to hear anyway. Even though I realized I was falling into a trap, I urge her forwards.
今は何年？
このゲーム版の世界のこと？ならば、1986年10月4日よ。
その通り。ならば、あなたがベアトに打ち勝ったなら、台風が去った10月6日に、島に囚われていた人々は帰還する。1986年の10月6日にね。
だから何？
あなたの1986年の10月6日はどうだった？親戚の家にいたんじゃなかったかしら。
I'd been at the house of the only Sumadera my mother trusted, Grandpa. We got a call. When I was playing with building blocks in the tatami room, we got that call. After watching to make sure that I'd remembered, Lambda Delta laughed unpleasantly and spoke.
ねえ、あなたの1986年10月6日に、バトラお兄ちゃん帰ってきた？
Even though I didn't understand what she was saying, I noticed an unpleasant sweat seeping out all over my face. I don't get it. 全然わかんない。What is this witch saying?
いい？あなたがベアトを倒せば、バトラは確かに解放されるわ。そしてお家へ帰るでしょうね。1986年のお家に。だってそうでしょ？バトラは1986年の10月4日から5日に閉じ込められてるんだもの。解放されたらその翌日に帰るのは当然でしょ？そしてあなたは1998年の人間。バトラが帰ってこなかった1998年の後ろ宮エンジェ。意味わかる？
何言ってるのあんたは。
Your butler will not
家族が
return.
家に帰ってくるなら素敵じゃない。私はすぐにおじいちゃんの家から帰るわ。そして私たちは出会う。めでたしめでたし。
ええ、後ろ宮エンジは家族に再会できるでしょうね。1986年に6歳の後ろ宮エンジね。
私って誰？
後ろ宮エンジよ。18歳の。違うわ。後ろ宮エンジじゃない。そういう名前の魔女の駒なのよ。厳密にはエンジェ・ベアトリーチェという名の全くの別人。意味わかる？
I don't really get it anymore. Huh? Huh? Who am I? Huh?
だからベルンは残酷だなって思う。いいえ、意地悪だなって思う。そういう経験なくもないくせにね。
私何か騙されてる？
ああ、でもどうかベルンを責めないでね。だって考えようによってはあの子は嘘をついてない。ベアトを倒せば家族が帰ってくる。後ろ宮エンジェのところへ。でもその後ろ宮エンジェがあなたのことだとは言ってないだろうけどね。
Was it like that? Was it like that? What did Burn Castle say to me again? Your assistance is required. Your family needs it. Burn Castle started by saying that. Then I spoke. If I save them, does that mean my family will come home? And how did Burn Castle answer that again? I cannot promise that. She did make me a promise. In exchange for accepting this fight, Yes, this is what she said. In exchange, I will search for a fragment with the ideal world that you wish for. A world where your family comes home. Yeah, that's right. She didn't say any more than that she'd look for it. She didn't say she'd find it. But I was prepared for that from the beginning. But even so, that child promised that as long as I didn't give up, there was a faint chance of it happening. And in the end, she said this. I'm giving you a chance for revenge. In exchange, I promise to search for and bring you the happiest resolution among the possibilities you are capable of accepting.
初めから辛い賭けになることは承知よ。だって私の1998年には家族はいない。絶対のゼロが揺らぐわずかの可能性と引き換えなら、私にはそれだけで価値がある。仮に復讐を成し遂げても徒労になるかもしれないと事前に脅されてるんだ。だから
その部分に嘘はないわね。ベアとのゲーム版は完璧よ。あんたが立ち回ったところでベアとが敗北する可能性なんて生涯に一度のみ夢見ることを許されるかどうかくらいほんのわずか。つまり限りなくゼロとみなせるほどに絶対にその勝率はほとんどゼロだから、ベルンがそういうお茶を濁した言い方になるのは仕方がない。でもあなたに夢を持たせた点についてだけは騙してると言い切れるわ。だって天文学的な確率を乗り越えてあんたが勝利できたとしても家族が帰ってくるのはあんたのところじゃない。この1986年に存在する6歳の正しい後宮エンジェのところにね。あんたのところにじゃない。ベルンはそれでも100億のかけらをめぐりあんたに一番マシな世界を探すでしょうね。そしてその彼女が言ったんじゃないの。手土産に持参するつもりだが見つけられなかったと
言ったわ。
そろそろ気づいてきた。あんたこの戦いにご褒美が用意されてないのよ。いえ、それどころかベアと打ち破ればゲーム版は消え去る。そしてその駒であるあんたも消え去る。あんたに享受できるゴールは完全に、いいえ、私の名において宣言するわ。この絶対の魔女ラムダデルタの名において絶対にないと宣言する。
そんな。
それがベルンの嘘よ。煙に巻いたと言うべき。あんたに救いがあるかのように誤解させた。私はそれを解きに来たのよ。
つまり私はどう戦いどう勝利を収めようとも私のところに家族は帰ってこないの。
ええ、帰ってこない。絶対に絶対の魔女が絶対にって言ってるの。これってすごいことよ。私に絶対が与えられたくて歴史的建造物を捧げた古代の王たちが何人もいたのに、私はそれを気前よくあんたにはプレゼントしちゃうの。これってばとっても素敵でキュートでマーベラスなことなのよ。でも一つだけいい提案があるの。
Damn, I'm getting completely overwhelmed. I know I shouldn't have listened, and now I'm starting to be overwhelmed by this witch, Lambda Delta.
私の相手はベルンであってあんたじゃない。私とあなたが共に得をする話はあり得ると最初から私はそういう話をすると言って。だから耳を貸しなさい。貸すしかないのよ、あんたには。
聞くわよ。聞いてやるわよ。
Nangis.
聞けばいいんでしょ。
I finally lost control over my emotion and exploded from the inside. I don't have a clue anymore. I believed that I was Angie, but at some point I stopped being Angie. That's right, I'm Angie, not Angie. What am I? I'm not my parents' child, nor my brother's little sister. I'm just a piece in a witch's game.
そこまで悲観することはないわ。だってよく考えて、今あんたはバトラお兄ちゃんに出会えているわ。確かに自らの名を名乗ることはできないけれど、それでも少なくとも魔女と戦うゲームの味方同士という位置にいて、いつまでも永遠に一緒にいることができる。意味わかる？
Can't stand it. But I understand. In other words, as long as Oni-chan keeps getting a tie in this game, it will continue forever. And I will forever be with Oni-chan. Continuing to tie means continuing the game for eternity. And it means that I can remain with Oni-chan as a piece. But if Oni-chan wins or loses, and the curtain closes on the game... Bruh! No way, Angie.
ゲームで遊んでもらうことだけよ。押し入れにしまわれて埃をかぶることじゃないわ。そうでしょ？
そうでしょ? In the past, the Seven Sisters of Purgatory said it as well. Furniture's happiness comes from being used, not being stored away. That's right. I am now the witch's furniture.
話を少し変えるわね。実は私、このゲーム永遠に引き分け続けてほしいと思ってるの。終わらないゲームは永遠の檻。ベルンを今度こそ屈服させる未来永劫に開かれることのない絶対密室よ。ベアとはね、一応は勝つ気があるの。バトラを屈服させるという勝利ね。でもね、実はそれも私には困るのよ。だってゲームが終わっちゃったら密室が崩れてしまうもの。だから私、バトラが屈服することだけはないようにある程度の手心は加えてるの。安心して。バトラが屈服しかけると私は彼の味方になったりもしてるのよ。
Why is she obsessed with caging Burn Castle?
どうもベアとのやつ、それにうすうす気づき出してる気がする。
Yeah, but why would you want to do that? What is that bad blood?
Cari tahu di Higurashi.
このゲームに
We need to watch
自分の価値
Higurashi.
は永遠
Holy
にない
shit.
んじゃないかって気づき始めてる気がする。でもそこはさすが
Plum,
無
do you
限
need to
の
watch
魔女。
Higurashi, Plum?
ベアとバカだからそれでもいつかきっと勝てる。それまで延々と無限にゲームを繰り返せばいいと楽観し
You
て
have
る
to
わ。
watch Higurashi for that. Oh my god.
金髪の女は大抵考えが足りないって
Our
決まってる
blonde,
もの
our
よ。
moron.
Berarti kan belum.
She is a
魔女
moron.
のゲームには勝利も敗北もないってことなの？
私が勝たせない。そして負かせない。絶対に。ベルンはそれに気づいてる。そしてそれを破るために最も強力な駒としてあんたを見つけ送り込んできた。このゲームを終わらせるためにね。
このゲームを
What the
終わ
fuck
ら
are
せ
you
る。
saying, bro?
終われば困
What
る
the fuck are you
役目
saying,
は
bro?
はっきり断言する。あんたは存在が矛盾してるのよ。自らの存在理由が自らを闇に葬り絶望するため。
My goal is to defeat Beato and release my captive family. And yet, even if I succeed, I won't be rewarded.
You can just simply answer this with I'm gonna accept that if and someone I'm single and they have
負けられない。
Yeah, I can.
そ
Do
して
you want
勝
that
って
to
も
happen to
報
you?
われない。
Depends.
だから私は第三の選択肢をあなたに持ってきたの。
If the
そしてそ
ini
の
apa?
選択肢は
Let's say
私とあな
the
たの利害
situation
を一致
is
させるわ。
you can marry Ting Yun, but every other version of you cannot. Or you're the only one who cannot marry Ting Yun, and every other version of you marries Ting Yun. Which one do you want?
Depends.
Continuing the tie for all eternity. We'll talk about it in the podcast.
そう。永遠に引き分け続ける限り、この世界は崩壊しない。この世界は何？魔女とのゲームの世界。ベアトとバトラが永遠に戦い続ける世界。そして同時に、あなたが永遠にバトラと一緒にいられる世
I
界
mean,
な
in
の
the
よ。
first place, you should be asking kayak, oh, kalau gitu, kalau misalnya Battle menang, apa yang terjadi kepada Battle? Battle yang di sini, bukan Battle yang di sini.
Balik kan? My head was spinning. That confusion became a hot liquid, and I felt it pouring from my eyes. It was so hot that it felt like I'd burn my face.
エンジェベアトリーチェ、ゲームを終わらせ、あなたとバトラの交流できる世界を終わらせようとするのが目的のベルンカステルに味方する理由がどこにあんの？あの子はあんたを騙してたのよ。自分の駒になればあんたが救われるかのようにごまかしてね。でも私はそこをごまかさない。だから言うわ、エンジェ。私の駒になりなさい。私はベルンのように絶対にもらえない嘘のご褒美なんてちらつかせないわ。私の駒となり、このゲームが絶対に終わらないように私に協力する限り、私はあんたにこの世界が絶対に続くことを我が名において絶対に約束する。それだけじゃないわ。あなたに課せられているルール、それを取り払ってあげるわ。まあもちろん私の駒になると誓ってもらった後にだけどね。
Rule-nya ini yang mana sih? Lupa, aku nggak boleh ngomongin masa depan ya?
Kayaknya, nggak tahu.
In my own throat there was a thick, loud gulping sound. I shouldn't have listened. If I hadn't listened, I could have remained an innocent little sister praying for my brother's victory. But it might be different now. I might have degraded into a witch's furniture. One that cares about nothing but being by Oni-chan's side.
兄を裏切れと言ってるわけじゃないんだからね。バトラが負けそうになったら全力で助ければいい。逆にバトラがペアと追い詰めすぎたら少し加減を変えてあげてほしいと、その程度のお願いをしてるのよ。大丈夫、バトラを裏切るほどの必要はないわ。バトラ一人じゃベアトには勝てない。だからベルンはあんたを送り込んだんでしょ。あんたが手を貸さない限りバトラは永遠にベアトには勝てない。とっても簡単でしょ。
Mau save
Wih,
nih.
pas banget. Pas banget, pas banget.
Terus ternyata scene selanjutnya scene yang lebih interesting ya, balik ke
present dia, gitu kan?
ちょっと
Kan? I want to know what the fuck happened with Mamon though. I'm more invested in Mamon than I am in Beatrice at this point.
Really?
Yeah, Joe, have you seen Mamon? Man. Udah di-save belum?
Udah.
Nonton nih? Oh, ada. Alliance of the Golden Witch. I'll talk about it in the podcast. The situation of you marrying Ting Yun or every other version of you marrying Ting Yun. Yeah, okay. We'll talk about it in the podcast.
I believe I'm not as desperate as Heathcliff, you know. Kayak, every Heathcliff must be with Kathy. I believe me in other universe maybe fall in love with someone else. I don't know.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
You think let's say a cinnamon football of World 26 will not love
maybe in World 27 apa tuh me on my senior high school been fumbled back there and actually like that person. I don't know.
Actually married the girl you like.
Maybe in World 28 I fall I'm brave enough to talk to that girl in my college in my university school. I believe that opinion.
I see. Kita ngobrol di podcast nanti.
I'll talk about it in the podcast. The mirror world of R27.
Nanti title podcastnya Do We Believe in Alternate Realities?
What happened to other side? But I believe it in what Doctor Strange said in Multiverse of Madness. Dream is a window to other universe. I believe that.
Oh shit! I just confessed, and my other self just confessed yesterday. Then, shit. Man, I wish you best of luck, dude. We're so bad. I didn't even get to watch her reply. You know, I just witnessed you confess to her, and I woke up.
Udah kalau gitu sampai sini dulu saja. Thank you sudah mampir. Bye bye. We end.
We end. Jane.